Chapter 9:12. The cold moon shone in the sky. Above Buddha Mountain, 100,000 demon soldiers pressed down, their power shaking the heavens. Below, Heavenly Buddha Lord stood alone, facing 100,000 demon soldiers alone. The head of the three protectors, by Wangran, appeared first. He raised his hand to summon the wind essence of heaven and earth. Strong winds and huge waves swept out, shocking the heavens and the stars. Hurricanes pressed down, destroying heaven and earth. Buddha is merciful. Heavenly Buddha Lord twisted his fingers, and golden Buddha light rose around him. The indestructible Vajra body showed its divine power, like a hurricane formed by thousands of blades. He was not hurt at all. Outside the battle, Moonweaver's eyes turned cold. She waved her hand and a sword appeared, reversing the water and moon. She moved to unsheathe the sword, the cold light threatening to kill. Heavenly Buddha Lord raised his hand to block the divine weapon. With a loud clang, the force of 1,000 tons hit him, and the void under his feet cracked inch by inch. He took the divine weapon's power head-on. Dance of butterflies, peace. The two sides were in a stalemate for a moment. 100 feet away, a soft voice sounded, and a black blade cut through the void. The shocking scene shook the heavens and the earth. In the strong winds and huge waves, Heavenly Buddha Lord raised his hand and blocked the blade. Buddha energy burst out, and the blade shattered. Heavenly Buddha Lord, the destruction of Buddha Mountain is irreversible. Why struggle so recklessly? Outside the battle, Jie Tiance looked at the battle in front of him and said calmly, "Slaying demons, defending the Tao, and protecting all living beings is the purpose of Buddhism. I dare not forget it." The Buddha's finger cleared, dispelling the demonic qi. In an instant it was in front of demonic butterfly. Huazhongdia stepped back and dodged. After 100 feet, the demonic qi of burial flowers tears surged, and the two blades slashed down. With a loud bang, Huazhongdia took a few steps back, and a drop of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Buddha and demonic qi clashed, and she was injured for the first time. She wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and demonic butterfly rose to kill. Her sleeves spread and turned into a sky net, sealing off the entire battle. She stepped forward, and the blades spun in her sleeves. Black and white blade lights crisscrossed, and the killing moves came one after another. On the other side, Moonweaver was also using the power of the divine weapon. Sword lights swept out, and every move was deadly. In the center of the battle, Heavenly Buddha Lord turned his palm to block the demonic qi. The more they fought, the more intense the battle became. Riding the wind. Just as the saber and sword were about to trap the Buddha, Bai Wangran, who was not far away, let out a soft cry. His genuine vitality was fully activated, and the 9-wheel wind pearls soared into the sky. Fierce winds and huge waves swept across 1,000 miles. The vast palm power broke the wind and pressured the realm. The crisis was imminent. Blessed Buddha Lord flipped his palm and shook off the two demonic weapons. His eyes narrowed slightly as he formed a Buddha seal. The swastika appeared, and under the shocking light, it blocked the demonic attack. An earth-shattering tremor resounded as the Buddha and the demon grew and grew. Heavenly Buddha Lord reacted hastily, and did not have enough qi to store up. Vermilion blood spurted out of his mouth and dyed his Buddha face red. On the other side, Bai Wangran was also struck by the aftershocks. He took half a step back, his blood and qi surging. 3 against 1. The generals of the Devil Palace found it hard to gain a clear advantage. They exchanged blows, using brute force to kill the Buddha. The tense situation was so tense that it was difficult for everyone to breathe. At this moment, the Yama Kings of Hell descended upon the mortal realm. Outside the battlefield, Jie Tiance looked at the Yama Kings of the underworld descending from the sky and said coldly, "I've been waiting for you for a long time." As soon as he finished speaking, the black and white go pieces shot out like ink splashing through the air. The heaven-fixing game must defeat the Buddha's son. How could the Yama Kings mess up the game? The go pieces crisscrossed in the sky and lightning spread, forming a huge trap formation to trap the kings of the underworld. Lord Sacred Priest, the underworld will not lose to the same move twice. As he spoke, a red figure walked out from behind the battlefield. His face was covered with the evil face of the King of Hell. He waved his hand, and the sword light broke through the sky. With a boom, it hit the thousands of go pieces. Rumbling sounds rang out. In the trap, the 5 Yama Kings attacked simultaneously. They worked together to break the heaven-fixing game. Jia Tiance turned around and looked at the Yama King in red in front of him. His eyes flashed coldly as he said, "Today you still want to reverse the outcome of the Buddha Mountain's defeat? You are too naive. Everything depends on man. Man can conquer nature." The Yama King in red said lightly. He stepped forward and stood in front of the people in front of him. In the trap, rumbling sounds echoed through the universe. The 5 Yama Kings broke the formation and passed by each other. No one attacked the sacred priest of the Devil Palace. Instead, they rushed toward the battlefield. Jia Tiance did not attack either. He quietly watched the 5 figures pass by. "The sacred priest does not seem to be in a hurry," the Yama King in red said. "What is there to be anxious about?" Jia Tiance looked at the people in front of him and said calmly, "Just the 5 of you. How many devil army can you stop?" At this time, no conspiracy can change the outcome of the Buddha Mountain's destruction. The only difference is, how long can you last? Thunder rumbled in the sky. Black figures slowly descended. The aura of the 100,000 punitive expedition army covered the cold moon. The sacred priest of the Devil Palace is really a detestable character, the Yama King in red said coldly. "Same to you," Jia Tiance said indifferently. Behind the two, the 5 Yama Kings joined the battle. Mu Qianshang blocked the 3rd guardian of the Devil Palace, Moonweaver. The 3rd battle added to the tension. The ink sword realm opened, and the battle began. The crisscrossing sword light moved with the mountains and rivers. The color of ink filled the entire sword realm. The layers of changes made it difficult to distinguish. Moonweaver waved her sword to disperse the ink sword chi that came close to her. She looked at the constantly moving mountains and rivers around her. The killing intent in her eyes grew stronger. This person's moves were extremely strange. It was hard to tell what was real and what was fake. It restrained the ability to reverse the moon and water to the greatest extent. It was really annoying. Sword light flashed and cut through the ink. Suddenly, a green arrow light pierced through the air. Without any warning, it shot straight toward the woman's back. The danger came. Moonweaver felt a chill on her back. She subconsciously turned to the side. The arrow light whizzed past her shoulder. With a rip, it tore her clothes and brought with it a dazzling waterfall of blood. Despicable. Seeing the figure of the Yama King appear behind her, Moonweaver's expression darkened. How can I be despicable in a battle of life and death? Moreover, the invasion of the Devil Palace is a despicable act. The purple-robed Yama King took 2 steps forward. The 7-colored star divine bow swallowed the arrow light and locked onto the former. Pincer attack. The killing intent on Moonweaver's face grew colder and colder. It seemed that the Yama Kings of the underworld didn't just want to stop the destruction of Buddha Mountain. Just as the battle began, not far away, Yixuan Miao and Qi Yanxia blocked the 2nd protector of the Devil Palace. The green moth whistled, and the might of the Emperor's heavenly scripture shook the world. They alternated between offense and defense, forcefully delaying Bai Wang Ran. In the 3rd battle, the god of the Luo River, Mi Fei, blocked the demonic butterfly alone. Every move she made resonated with the heavens and earth. The battle of laws and ultimate martial arts was dazzling and dazzling. In an instant, eternity reappeared. Born of the moon scroll, it formed its own comprehension of laws. It controlled time and space, and sealed the demonic butterfly's body. After 100 years, they fought the god of the Luo River again. The opponent was the same, but the situation was completely different. The demonic butterfly's twin blades joined together. Flower burial condensed. Thousands of black butterflies danced, breaking through the restraints and sweeping toward the woman. Butterfly in the flower, wake up. You shouldn't have fallen like this. Purified samsara. The god of the Luo River raised her hand, and the shocking power of the 2nd law reappeared. In the void, thousands of black butterflies were instantly swallowed up by time and space, leaving no trace behind. The body of a deity, the comprehension of laws that transcended mortals, and the body of the Luo River once again displayed its shocking ability. All the demons present were shocked, and their gazes involuntarily shifted. The body of a deity. Feeling the difference in the woman in front of him, Jie Tian's face flashed with surprise. There was a deity among the 10 kings of hell? Outside the battle, Heavenly Buddha Lord walked into the sky alone. Looking at the endless army of the Devil Palace, there was no change in his calm face. He had already made arrangements for the aftermath of Buddha Mountain. Today's destruction was for a better rebirth in the future. He believed in the promise of Benefactor Ning, although he had never seen the Lady Buddha. Ba. A Buddhist chant resounded through the sky. Heavenly Buddha Lord stepped in front of the thousands of demons. His Buddha vitality was ignited. In an instant, the power of faith in the entire Buddha mountain gathered and returned to him. You want to risk your life? Difficult. The leader of the 100,000 demons, the 12 devil generals, looked cold. They turned their palms and condensed their vitality. Suddenly, the demonic power of the army continued to condense. The demonic clouds stirred and formed an unprecedented giant demon head. It was ferocious and terrifying, swallowing everything. Devil Sky Statue. The combined attack of the 100,000 demons was earth-shattering. In an instant, it surpassed the limits of heaven and earth and broke through the sun, moon, and darkness. The true power of the fourth realm was a terrifying move that gathered the power of the 12 devil generals and 100,000 demons. Although there was only one demon head, it was enough to make people feel breathless. Buddha is merciful, guide Ci Hang, Tathagata demon vanquishing seal. Heavenly Buddha Lord's hands moved, and the Buddhist sect's forbidden Jingfa appeared in the world for the first time. Suddenly, the Tathagata statue appeared in the 9 heavens. The Buddha's palm turned, and the supreme power of Buddha descended. The ancient demons and the Tathagata statue crossed the endless time and space, and once again clashed in the world. In an instant, the aurora was dazzling, illuminating the whole night sky. Ugh! In the sky, there was a muffled groan. The Buddha's light shone, and the demonic waves were thousands of miles away. Tens of thousands of demons disappeared between heaven and earth. In front of the demons, the demonic aura surged and entered the Buddha's body. Heavenly Buddha Lord retreated, his Buddhist robe stained red. He was seriously injured. The leader of the 12 devil generals, a man in purple armor, looked coldly at the Buddha in front of him and sneered. One move for one move, Buddha. How many more moves can you block? Heavenly Buddha Lord can only block 3 moves. After 3 moves, I will take your life. In front of the demons, Heavenly Buddha Lord condensed his finger again. In front of everyone's eyes, thousands of swastikas rose, magnificent and magnificent, forming 4 solemn holy walls. Seeing this, the 12 devil generals turned their palms, and the tens of thousands of demons behind them once again urged their yuan to help. The billowing demonic aura swept in all directions. Above the demons, the ancient demon added another arm, and a giant fist fell, crashing into the 4 holy walls. The Buddha and the demons clashed again, and the raging waves swept across the sky. The terrible impact spread rapidly, and in an instant, the demons were scattered. The holy power slayed the demons, and tens of thousands of demons disappeared again. In front of the demons, Heavenly Buddha Lord took a few steps back, blood flowing from his body. At the end of the Buddha's path, the saint's heart had no regrets. I have done all I can. Benefactor Ning, from now on, the world is in your hands. His last words were still about the suffering of all living beings. Heavenly Buddha Lord released all his vitality, and in an instant, a shocking scene appeared. Thousands of lotuses rose into the sky, and another world was opened. Chapter 9:13. On Mount Shumi, the battle between Buddha and demon ended. Heavenly Buddha Lord released his blood origin, and the 10,000 Lotus Buddha realm appeared for the first time. Retreat. Outside the 3-way battle, Shi Xian was prepared. The Yama kings immediately retreated out of Mount Shumi. Something's wrong. Jie Tian saw this and waved his hand to summon chess pieces. Thousands of black and white chess pieces flew into the sky, blocking the 10,000 Lotus Buddha light. With a loud bang, the 10,000 Lotus Buddha light collided with the black and white chess pieces. The violent collision resounded throughout Mount Shumi, and the Buddha realm shook, showing signs of instability. At this moment, the ground rumbled again. Countless red lights shot into the sky, and the immortal trapping revealed its divine power. Borrowing the chi of Mount Shumi, it killed the demons. Immortal trapping. Jietian's expression changed slightly. He stepped into the air, and with a flip of his palm, a demonic net spread out, blocking the power of the immortal trapping. Heaven and earth worked together, and the immortals and Buddhas killed the demons. The black and white chess pieces and the demonic silkworm spider web resisted for a moment before shattering. In the next moment, a terrifying scene occurred. Between heaven and earth, the 10,000 lotus Buddha light and the immortal trapping swords light crisscrossed, and the entire Buddha realm turned into hell. Endless killing aura spread, and the demons cried out, suffering heavy casualties. Everyone thank you. In the Buddha realm, Heavenly Buddha Lord looked at the Yama kings in front of him, and a smile appeared on his face. For the last time, he looked at the mortal world with no regrets. Outside Mount Shumi, the Yama kings bowed together, sending off the Buddha Lord. Luotian, it's up to you now. Among the 6 Yama kings, Mu Qianshang spoke calmly. Luotian nodded and waved her hand. Suddenly, 1,000 miles away, a river flew up, and 3,000 weak reed flowers sank. Knowing destiny's previous arrangement had shown its effect today, the weak water turned into rain, and it flew into the 10,000 lotus Buddha realm. Heaven and earth were extremely poisonous, and even the gods and Buddhas did not dare to touch this place. The rain fell, and Mount Shumi turned into hell. Ah! Shrill screams were heard. The weak water rain fell on the demons, and although it was not fatal, the intense pain was hard to suppress. It spread along their meridians, and it made them go crazy. Outside 10,000 lotus Buddha realm, the Yama kings looked at this miserable scene, and they could not help but shiver. Once Ji Ming decided to be ruthless, he would stop at nothing. Don't think too much about it. Ji Ming had personally experienced this kind of pain before. The poison of the yellow springs flower is 100 times stronger than the weak water. If he is so ruthless to himself, what more to his enemies? Mu Qianshang said with a cold expression. He's a lunatic. Luo Xingchen felt a chill down his spine when he saw the miserable state of the devil army in the myriad lotus Buddha world. Can this barrier keep them here? Qi Yanxia suppressed the waves in her heart and asked. No. Mu Qianshang gently shook his head. Even with the heavenly Buddha Lord's Buddha world and the power of the immortal trapping divine prohibition, it is impossible to kill the Devil Palace's Saint Arbiter and the 3 protectors. However, it is still possible to trap them for a while. Now what we need the most is time. I didn't expect Heavenly Buddha Lord to be willing to choose this ending. It's really admirable. Qi Yanxia sighed softly. Maybe Ji Ming promised him something. No matter what, this is the best outcome. Giving up Buddha Mountain and inflicting heavy damage to the Devil Palace. At least, we did not lose too much. Mu Qianshang said calmly. Qi Yanxia was silent. A general's success was built on thousands of bones. Although it was cruel, there were many times when there was no other choice. Although she was born in the royal family, she still could not be as resolute as Ji Ming. Sometimes, she could not imagine how a person who loved someone could be so ruthless. Just as Buddha Mountain was destroyed and thousands of devils were trapped, far away in the endless space, on a life planet covered in ice and snow, a silhouette in plain clothes silently opened her eyes. She got up and bowed respectfully in the direction of Buddha Mountain, bidding farewell to the current Buddha Mountain Lord. Why? Are you regretting it? The void swirled and a pink figure walked out. She always had a charming smile on her face. Although she was a Lady Buddha, she looked more like a demon. Feeling the aura of the person who came, Ningchen was not too surprised. He straightened up and looked at her and said calmly, "Since I have arranged today's situation, I will not regret it. Aaron, the responsibility of rebuilding the Buddha kingdom in the future will be handed over to you. You are the Lady Buddha, the best candidate." "It is my pleasure." Aaron Mingwang showed a bright smile and said, "Is this your purpose for asking Heavenly Buddha Lord to dismiss the disciples of Buddha Mountain?" "Yes." Ningchen nodded and said, "The Buddha kingdom cannot be destroyed. Heavenly Buddha Lord is the symbol of the Buddha kingdom. No matter what, he will not be able to escape this disaster. However, his disciples can. Now that the Devil Palace is trapped in Buddha Mountain, The thousands of disciples of Buddha Mountain have time to hide their whereabouts. When the Buddha kingdom is rebuilt, they will be your greatest help. Thank you, Lord Ning. Aaron Mingwang bowed and said with a smile. Rebuilding the Buddha kingdom was a great merit. Once it was successful, the merit and faith she would obtain would be enough for her to see the opportunity to enter the fourth realm. Ningchen did not say anything more. He sat down and continued to heal his injuries. Lord Ning, do you have any instructions for the future arrangements? Aaron Mingwang asked softly. Wait. In the wind and snow, a voice transmission sounded. After that one word, there was nothing else. Aaron Mingwang's eyes flashed. She nodded and did not ask any more questions. Her figure faded and disappeared in the wind and snow. In the underworld continent, in the Yama Palace, the Yama kings had not returned. In the palace, Ener and a man sat in front of a table filled with pastries. It was a dazzling sight. Little mistress, let's go and see Ning Chen again. Ener said while stuffing pastries into her mouth. Let's not. A man shook his head and said, he's protected by the quintessence of the undying divine tree. So it won't take long for his injuries to recover. He'll naturally return once he's recovered, so we'll just disturb him if we keep heading over. Oh, Ener replied softly. She looked at the person in front of her and said, Little mistress, why do you not seem worried about the situation of Buddha Mountain? Because the outcome of Buddha Mountain can no longer be changed. A man said softly, Ener, although your master is powerful, he is not omnipotent. Now Buddha Mountain might have perished. However, the demon palace will not have it easy either. Hearing this, Ener's expression shook, revealing a look of astonishment. Just as the two finished talking, in the sky above the 10 palaces, there was a rumble. The stars shifted and the Yama kings returned one by one. In front of the Yama palace, everyone walked over and took off their masks, revealing familiar faces. Ener stood up and looked at everyone curiously, waiting for an answer. Seeing the little girl's expectant gaze, Mu Qianshang sighed in his heart and said, Buddha Mountain has perished. The demon palace has suffered heavy losses. When Ener heard that, the surprise in her eyes grew. She turned to look at the woman in front of her. Her eyes flashed with surprise. So little mistress knew everything. She was just cooperating with master by not asking and not saying anything. Chapter 9:14. 10,000 lotuses bloomed on Buddha Mountain. The magnificent battle of killing the demons had ended. Heavenly Buddha Lord had sacrificed himself in the battle, trapping all the demons in Buddha Mountain. 1 day, 2 days. In the 10,000 lotus world of Buddha, nearly half of the army had been killed. Demon bones covered the entire Buddha Mountain, glaring and hair-raising. The once prosperous Buddha Mountain had now become a forbidden land of death. Corpses were everywhere, and there was no trace of the past. In the void, 10,000 lotuses shone with Buddhist light. The 12 demon generals and tens of thousands of demon soldiers worked together to resist the Buddhist power. Below, the immortal trapping sword Qi crisscrossed, and the 3 protectors used their power to resist the red light. For 10 whole days, the 10,000 lotus world of Buddha trapped all the demons. No one could leave. Jie Tian stood in the sky, looking at the killing trap set up by Heavenly Buddha Lord and the 9th son of Maha's sect. The coldness in his eyes became more and more piercing. Since the immortal trapping sword had appeared here, it meant that Heavenly Buddha Lord and the 9th son of Maha's sect had planned this before the battle. Heavenly Buddha Lord was willing to make such a huge sacrifice, which made him look at him in a new light. However, the destruction of Buddhism was an established fact. Although the price paid by the demon palace was beyond their expectations, it was worth it. Jie Tian looked up at the 10,000 lotuses floating in the sky. The purification technique of Buddhism was indeed worthy of its reputation. However, how long could a formation supported by Buddha blood last? Saint Arbiter. Below, Moonweaver waved her sword, creating a waterfall of red light. Then she stepped into the air and said, If this continues, all the demon soldiers will be buried here. Can you send a message to Elder Brother, and ask him to come and break the formation? Jun Wentian? Jie Tian retracted his gaze and looked at the woman in front of him. He said calmly, He should have known that we were trapped here. Since he didn't appear, It means that his injuries haven't healed. Or perhaps he's been stopped by someone. Saint Arbiter. What do you mean? Moonweaver frowned. Jun Wentian's injuries aren't light, and it's hard to say whether he's fully recovered or not. Even if he's fully recovered, the Yama Kings of Hell wouldn't have thought that he would come to break the formation. Therefore, the moment Jun Wentian appears, the Yama Kings of Hell will definitely intercept him in advance. At this point, Jie Tiance looked at the barefooted woman in blue below and said calmly, "Don't worry, as long as Butterfly and the Flower is still here, this formation is not a dead end. The ninth son of Maha's sect and Heavenly Buddha Lord are just trying to buy time. This is all they can do now." Holy Arbiter, have the ninth son of Maha's Gate and the Yama Kings of the Underworld joined forces? Moonweaver asked worriedly. It's only a matter of time. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. With the intelligence of the ninth disciple of Maha's sect, there's no way he doesn't know this principle. The Kings of Hell also know the gap between Hell and my Devil Palace. If they can get such a helper, they naturally won't refuse, Jie Tiance said indifferently. Moonweaver heard this and clenched her fists. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have let this man live in the ancient battlefield. Don't worry too much. If you want to raise a tiger, you have to be prepared. The ninth son of Maha's sect helped my Devil Palace get rid of the Sword Pavilion and Kirin Pavilion. In the end, the benefits outweigh the disadvantages. Today's result is still acceptable, Jie Tiance said indifferently. Just as the demons were trapped in the Thousand Lotus Formation for nearly 20 days, far away in the endless starry sky, on a life planet that was covered in snow all year round, a plain-clothed figure who had been sitting cross-legged in the wind and snow stood up. His eyes looked into the distance, and a moment later he disappeared. On the 23rd day of Mount Shumi, the phoenix flew over. In front of Mount Shumi, the phoenix appeared. The red light disappeared, and the plain-clothed figure walked out. Looking at the miserable situation in the formation, there was no trace of pity on his face. In the Thousand Lotus world of Buddha, Jie Tiance looked at the plain-clothed young man in front of him. His calm eyes revealed a faint brilliance. He said, "I want to know, how did you persuade Heavenly Buddha Lord to give up the entire Mount Shumi? When the Devil Palace is destroyed, I will tell you the reason," Ningchen said indifferently. "That's a pity, we won't have the chance," Jie Tiance said calmly. Just as the two were talking, on top of Mount Shumi, there was no movement at all. Suddenly, the light of Buddha shone brightly. A golden path of Buddha spread out from the top of the mountain, directly in front of Ji Ming. Ningchen, Jie Tiance, and the other demons were all stunned. They looked at Mount Shumi in the distance. After a moment of surprise, outside Mount Shumi, Ningchen collected his thoughts and stepped onto the path of Buddha. He walked step by step toward Mount Shumi in the distance. Buddha. On Mount Shumi, Ningchen bowed respectfully and said. As soon as he finished speaking, a golden light gathered in the void. In an instant, a solemn Buddha statue appeared. It was hundreds of feet tall and majestic. "Young man, I haven't seen you for decades. You are different now," the Buddha statue said calmly in the void. "I have experienced too many life and death separations. I have to grow," Ningchen said softly. "Young man, in the end you still can't get over the separation of life and death in the world." The Buddha said, "Ji Ming was born as a mortal. In this life, I will never be able to get over it," Ningchen replied. "You are not a mortal. You are originally the person closest to God in this world. What you need is to let go. This is just a matter of a thought for you," the Buddha continued. "If I let go, then what is the point of living? Buddha, if I want to become a god, then I have to give up everything in the world. Ji Ming is willing to give it up," Ningchen said respectfully. "Idiot." The Buddha sighed softly and said, "The Buddha kingdom has been destroyed. I don't have much time left in this world. I can't help you with anything. Take this last thing as a token of my appreciation for helping to rebuild the Buddha kingdom in the future." As soon as he finished speaking, the Buddha statue gradually disappeared. The starlight in the sky condensed into a sarira, and slowly sank into the body of the plain-clothed young man. Ningchen focused and felt the golden sarira that suddenly appeared in his Dan heart. After a moment, he collected his thoughts and turned to leave. In front of Mount Shumi, Ningchen looked back at the demons in the Thousand Lotus world of Buddhism and said calmly, "Everyone, we will meet again in the future." As soon as he said that, the wind and snow swept and the plain-clothed young man disappeared. In the Thousand Lotus world of Buddhism, Jietians looked at the distant Mount Prayer and narrowed his eyes. Was that the Buddha kingdom's Buddha? What did he say to the ninth disciple of Moism? At the border of the three domains, a plain-clothed young man appeared in front of thousands of meteorites. He waved his hand and dispersed the divine restriction. Then he walked into it. In the underworld's 10 halls, the Yama kings sensed something and walked out. When they saw the young man, they all breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing that he was fine, they were relieved. "Sorry for making everyone worry," Ningchen said softly. Ningchen said softly as he walked towards the King Yanlua's palace. "Everyone, please come over for a chat. I have something to discuss with everyone." In front of the various halls, everyone nodded. Their figures flashed and arrived before the King Yama palace. In the King Yama palace, the Yama kings took their seats. Ningchen looked at them and said seriously, "Everyone, the Thousand Lotus world of Buddhism and the immortal trapping sword can only trap the Devil Palace for 10 more days. In the next few months, the Devil Palace will completely unify the All-Heaven Starfield. In other words, our battlefield will have to shift." Mu Qianshang said, "The Devil Palace will definitely not stop after the All-Heaven Starfield is unified. However, there are many starfields bordering the All-Heaven Starfield. We can't predict which one they will attack next. The Spirit Void Starfield has the G family and the Nether Hall at the edge of the starfield. The Devil Palace probably doesn't want to face these two great inheritances. Therefore, the Spirit Void Starfield can be eliminated. As for the Red Luan, Sky Mist and Ziwei Starfields, the Devil Palace can choose to attack any one of them," Ningchen said calmly. "Jiming, what if the Devil Palace's next target is the Ziwei Starfield?" Luo Xingchen asked. The inner world was in the territory of the Ziwei Starfield. Once the Ziwei Starfield fell, the secret of the inner world would be exposed. That's not very likely. Ningchen shook his head and said, "The Ziwei Starfield has the Heaven's Equal Pavilion, which is equally famous as the Heaven-Mending Sect and Sword Pavilion. The Heaven's Equal Pavilion has always been low-key and mysterious. The Devil Palace, which just experienced a great battle, shouldn't choose to face another ancient inheritance so quickly. However, this is only my guess and cannot be confirmed. Other than the Spirit Void Starfield and Ziwei Starfield, the most likely targets would be the Sky Mist Starfield and the Red Luan Starfield," Mu Qianshang said. "Mn." Ningchen nodded and said, "Currently the Sky Mist Starfield and the Red Luan Starfield are about the same in strength. However, according to my guess, the Devil Palace will most likely choose the Red Luan Starfield this time." "Why?" Luo Xingchen asked. "Because of the Heaven-Mending Pavilion," Ningchen replied. "The Heaven-Mending Pavilion suffered a great loss and is not as strong as before. Furthermore, after the last battle, it can be confirmed that there is no 4th-level cultivator in the Heaven-Mending Pavilion. Therefore, the Devil Palace will not let go of this opportunity to swallow the Heaven-Mending Pavilion in one fell swoop. If this is really the case, it is not good news for us," Mu Qianshang said with a serious expression. "The Heaven-Mending Pavilion's current strength is far inferior to the Buddha Kingdom. Even with our help, I am afraid that they will not be able to resist the Devil Palace for long. It is better to rely on ourselves than to rely on others," Luo Xingchen said in a low voice. "Knowing Destiny and the Heaven-Mending Pavilion already have a big grudge against each other. Why should we deal with them? The situation now is not the time to talk about personal grudges," Qi Yanxia said from the side. "The Devil Palace is powerful. Even though they suffered a great loss this time, it is not a serious injury. Moreover, the Devil Palace still has an unknown master of the Devil Palace who has not appeared. With our strength, it is not enough to face the Devil Palace head-on. Borrowing an external force like the Heaven-Mending Pavilion is our only choice." Miss Qi is right. Xingchen, the grudge between the Heaven-Mending Pavilion, and I need not be bothered with it for the time being. Moreover, we are now in the dark and do not need to use our real identities to deal with the Heaven-Mending Pavilion. As long as we can borrow their strength, Any grudge can be dealt with in the future, Ningchen said calmly. Luo Xingchen heard this and snorted coldly, saying, "You are the most tolerant. I don't care, you can do whatever you want. However, with the Heaven Mending Pavilion's previous actions, you must be mentally prepared to deal with them." "I understand." Ningchen nodded and replied softly. Chapter 9:15. Underworld Mainland, King Yama Palace. After nearly 2 hours of discussion, everyone left one after another, temporarily returning to their respective palaces. Before leaving, Madame Luo paused. She looked at the plain-clothed young man and said, "Ji Ming, don't do such dangerous things in the future." Ningchen was startled for a moment before a gentle smile appeared on his face. He said, "Madame Luo, I won't do anything I'm not sure of. Don't worry." Madame Luo was silent for a moment before she softly said, "Z wouldn't want you to trade your life for his. We are the same. If there is anything in the future, you can discuss it with us. Don't always shoulder it by yourself." "Understood." Ningchen smiled and said, "I will remember." Madame Luo nodded. Without another word, she turned and left. After everyone left, a man walked out from the side hall. She looked at the person in front of her and gently smiled. "Big Sister Luo Fei seems unhappy." Heh. Ningchen chuckled. Luo Fei is the sect daughter of the Eternal Night God cult. She is much more arrogant than the average person. Over the years, Luo Fei's sharpness has been restrained. However, I still remember when she questioned me in the starry night because of her father. That aggressive aura is really nostalgic. Time really passes quickly. A man stepped forward and gently stroked the face of the person in front of her. 100 years have passed. Everything has changed. Iner walked out from the side hall. When she saw the two of them, she quickly covered her eyes and muttered, "I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything." A man smiled and withdrew her hand. There wasn't any embarrassment on her beautiful face. She liked him. This was a fact that would never change in her life. There was no need to hide it from anyone. Ningchen looked at the girl in front of the side hall and helplessly smiled. Don't be naughty." Iner giggled and released her hand. She ran over and hugged his arm. "Ningchen, you promised to accompany me. You can't go back on your words." Ningchen nodded. "Haven't you always wanted the identity of a king of hell? I have a task for you. Go and borrow your big sister Erin's mask and I'll take you out to play." Iner's eyes brightened. Really? Really?" Ningchen nodded. "I'll go now." Iner responded, released her hand, and ran out of the hall. "You want to bring Iner there?" a man asked. "There won't be any danger this time. It's good to bring this girl along to gain some experience." Ningchen replied. "Are you confident? The Devil Palace's army is still trapped on Buddha Mountain. Whether or not they will attack Hongwuan Starfield is still unknown. Will Heaven Mending Pavilion believe your words?" a man said softly. "Whether they believe it or not is not up to them." A faint smile appeared on Ningchen's face as he said, "Even if the Devil Palace's next target isn't Hongwuan Star region, we still have to make the Heaven Mending Pavilion believe that the Devil Palace has such a plan." "You mean to say that you want Heaven Mending Pavilion to draw fire onto itself?" a man asked. Ningchen nodded and said, "Instead of guessing what the Devil Palace will do next, why don't we draw the flames of war in the direction we want them to go? Heaven Mending Pavilion is a target we can use. With them as bait, our chances of success will be a bit higher." "You're too bad," Wild said softly. "I had no choice," Ningchen said helplessly. "You just have to be careful." A gentle smile appeared on a man's face as she said, "If there's anything you need my help with, just tell me. Right now, I also have the ability to help you." Ningchen nodded and said, "I know. However, there's no need for you to do anything right now. You can stay here at ease. Iner and I will be back soon." "Okay," a man replied softly and said, "You can go." "Ningchen, I borrowed it." At this moment, Iner ran back from the front of the palace. She held the Yama mask she borrowed from the Dusher Imperial Palace as she shouted, "Go quickly. Don't make this girl wait too long." Seeing the little girl's anxious appearance outside the palace, A man smiled and said. Ningchen replied softly and smiled. Without further delay, he walked out of the palace. Yinar went up and hugged the former's arm. Seeing that little master's wife did not follow, she was puzzled and said, Is little master's wife not going? She doesn't like this kind of situation. Yinar master is going to deceive people this time. After we arrive, you can't speak carelessly. Ningchen smiled and instructed. Okay. Yinar hurriedly nodded and said, I will definitely be obedient. If you don't allow me to speak, I won't say a single word. Ningchen smiled and said, There's no need for you to not say a single word. The heaven-mending pavilion doesn't know much about us. Thus they are still on guard against us. If a little girl like you who doesn't know the severity of her words unintentionally reveals something, I think it might be even more believable than my heavenly embellishments. I don't understand. Yinar pouted. There's no need to understand. I'll teach you when the time comes, Ningchen said with a smile. As the two of them spoke, the divine restriction above the 10 palaces opened. After a short moment, the two of them walked out and rapidly flew towards the Hongwan starfield. At the same time, in the All-Heaven starfield's demon region, a black-clothed, black-haired figure was standing quietly. His demonic aura was faintly discernible, making it impossible for others to see through him. Ahead stood a majestic palace. Jun Wentian was sitting cross-legged within the palace. He had not come out for several tens of days. Head protector. An illusory figure appeared before the palace. He bowed respectfully and said, The sage arbiter and the 3 protectors have been trapped for over 20 days. The demon master ordered the head protector to go and rescue them. Got it. You can withdraw first. Inside the palace, Jun Wentian replied indifferently. Head protector. Seeing that the person inside the palace still gave the same answer, the illusory figure outside the palace revealed an anxious expression and spoke again. Withdraw. Inside the palace, Jun Wentian spoke again. This time around his tone was much colder. Before the palace, the illusory figure's body trembled. He did not dare to say anything and bowed respectfully before disappearing. 300 meters outside the palace, the black-clothed, black-haired figure was still standing there quietly. He was looking at the person inside the palace without moving in the slightest. Jun Wentian raised his gaze and looked outside the palace. He said, Friend, although I am still unable to see you, I have been able to sense your existence these days. You've waited for so many days. Why don't you come in and have a seat? Outside the palace, the black-clothed figure did not move in the slightest. Just like how he had been for several tens of days, he was quietly watching. You should be someone from the underworld, right? I truly never expected that there would be an expert like you in the underworld. To be able to remain in the demon region for so long without being discovered. You are the first person in the past several tens of thousands of years. Jun Wentian said calmly. You flatter me. Outside the palace, the black-clothed figure spoke for the first time. Inside the palace, hearing that, Jun Wentian smiled lightly. He said, In the time that I was unable to detect you, you must have already obtained what you wanted. Why are you still staying here? To stop you from leaving. Outside the palace, the black-clothed figure spoke with an indifferent expression. Chapter 9:16. In the Red Luan Star region, the phoenix spread its wings and flew towards Heaven Mending Pavilion. In front of Heaven Mending Pavilion, the red light dissipated and 2 figures appeared. Their faces were covered with Yama's evil faces, and their auras were concealed. Ningchen, does Heaven Mending Pavilion really not have a 4th realm? Yinar looked at the ancient inheritance and asked. I was worried that there was, but now I'm worried that there isn't one, Ningchen said softly. Then is there one or not? Yinar continued to ask. There shouldn't be one. Ningchen shook his head and said, When we fought with Heaven Mending Pavilion before, we didn't dare to push them too far because we were worried that there was a 4th realm existence in Heaven Mending Pavilion. Later on, from the situation of Buddha Mountain, Sword Pavilion and Demon Palace, the possibility of a 4th realm existence is very slim. Perhaps there really was a 4th realm existence in Heaven Mending Pavilion a long time ago, but the possibility of it still being alive is less than 1 in 10. While the two were talking, the disciples of Heaven Mending Pavilion in front of them flew over. When they saw the two people, they were on guard. Yama of Hell requests an audience with Heaven Mending Pavilion Master. Under the Yama mask, Ningchen looked at the Heaven Mending Pavilion disciples in front of him and said. When the people of Heaven Mending Pavilion heard this, their expressions became serious. People of Hell, please wait for a moment. One of the Heaven Mending Pavilion disciples cupped his fist and said, then turned around and flew towards Heaven Mending Pavilion. One person went forward to ask for orders, while the rest of the people were still on guard. The name of Hell was like thunder in their ears these days. It was a mysterious existence that could contend with Demon Palace. Every one of the 10 Yama Kings was a top expert. Not long after, the Heaven Mending Pavilion disciple who went to ask for orders returned. Looking at the two people, he bowed respectfully and said, Pavilion Master invites you. Please follow me. Thank you. Ningchen replied softly and followed with the servant beside him. Heaven Mending Pavilion. The Heaven Mending Pavilion disciple who led the way bowed again and left first. Inside the temple, Heaven Mending Pavilion Master sat on the main seat. Below him, the elders of Heaven Mending Pavilion were all present. Looking at the two people who walked over, their expressions were all different. Yama of Hell greets Pavilion Master. Ningchen stepped forward and cupped his fist and bowed. On the main seat, the Heaven Mending Pavilion Master looked at the red-clothed Yama below. After staring at him for a moment, he smiled and said, there is no need to be so courteous. Yes. 4 Heaven Mending Pavilion disciples walked in and brought over 2 seats, placing them across from the Heaven Mending Pavilion elders. Thank you, Pavilion Master. Ningchen responded and brought In-air to sit down. I wonder why these 2 esteemed guests have come to my Butian Pavilion today. On the main seat, the Butian Pavilion Master spoke. Alliance. Ningchen didn't beat around the bush and spoke frankly about the purpose of his visit. Oh, when the Heaven Mending Pavilion Master heard this, he revealed a strange expression and asked, how do we form an alliance, and why do we need to form an alliance? Pavilion Master, you should know very well that the Demon Palace has already captured Buddha Mountain. It is only a matter of time before they unify the All-Heaven Starfield. The Demon Palace's ambition is most definitely not limited to this. Their next step will most definitely be to dispatch more troops. The Heaven Mending Pavilion's Red Luan Starfield is adjacent to the All-Heaven Starfield. If the Heaven Mending Pavilion does not make preparations, it will likely become a second Buddha Mountain, Ningchen said with a smile. How dare you? On the other side, a Heaven Mending Pavilion elder revealed an angry expression and said, you actually dare to compare my Heaven Mending Pavilion with the already destroyed Buddha Mountain. What are your intentions? Do not be rude. On the main seat, the Heaven Mending Pavilion Master raised his hand and stopped the elder from continuing. He looked down at the red-clothed Yama and calmly said, why are you so certain that the Demon Palace will attack the Red Luan Starfield next? The Red Luan Starfield is not the only starfield adjacent to the All-Heaven Starfield. Pavilion Master is correct. The Red Luan Starfield is indeed not the only starfield adjacent to the All-Heaven Starfield. However, it is the most likely starfield that the Demon Palace will choose, Ningchen said indifferently. Oh, why do you say that? The Heaven Mending Pavilion Master asked with a frown. The starfields adjacent to the All-Heaven Starfields are the Spirit Void, Red Luan, Sky Mist and Z-Wei. The Spirit Void is overseen by the Ji family and the Nether Hall. It is the strongest of the 4 starfields. At such a time, it is practically impossible for the Demon Palace to choose the Spirit Void. Pavilion Master, you won't deny this, right? Ningchen asked. Indeed. The Heaven Mending Pavilion Master nodded and said, although the Demon Palace is powerful, they are unwilling to face the Ji family and the Nether Hall at once. However, even if that is the case, there is still the Sky Mist and Z-Wei starfields. Why is Your Excellency so certain that the Demon Palace will choose the Red Luan Starfield? Choosing 1 out of 3 is originally a possibility. Below his seat, Ningchen revealed a smile and said, however, with the current situation, the possibility of the Demon Palace choosing the Red Luan Starfield is probably not 1 out of 3. speaking up to hear. Ningchen paused for a moment and said, Pavilion Master, have you noticed who is in charge of the northern expedition of the Demon Palace? The first guardian of the Demon Palace, Jun Wentian, the heaven-mending Pavilion Master said with a slightly serious expression. That's right. Ningchen reached out and picked up the tea on the table and said, I believe there is no need for me to remind you which starfield is adjacent to the All-Heaven starfield. Pavilion Master, could it be that you think the Demon Palace's arrangement is just a coincidence? The heaven-mending Pavilion Master's face darkened when he heard this, but he did not answer. Ningchen smiled and did not mind. He continued, now that the Demon Palace's army is trapped in Buddha Mountain, Jun Wentian still did not lend a hand. What is he planning? Jun Wentian is already injured. Even if he does not lend a hand, what is so strange about it? The heaven-mending Pavilion Master said in a deep voice. Is Jun Wentian's injury really that serious? Or does Jun Wentian have something more important to do? Ningchen smiled and said, Pavilion Master, these days, the 10 kings of hell have been on guard against the first guardian of the Demon Palace. Unfortunately, they have not been able to meet him in front of Buddha Mountain. If you want to say something, just say it. Why beat around the bush? The heaven-mending Pavilion Master said with an even more serious expression. Then I will be frank. Ningchen took a sip of tea and said indifferently, Pavilion Master should know that the person in charge of the Demon Palace is the Demon Master who has not shown himself. Now that the Saint of the Demon Palace is trapped, logically speaking, the Demon Master should have sent someone to rescue her. However, Jun Wentian has not shown up yet, which is thought-provoking. No one would believe that it could make the Demon Palace temporarily give up on rescuing the Saint of the Demon Palace, unless it is a huge benefit. In this world, how many benefits would the Demon Palace care about? In other words, who controls the most resources in the few starfields? Pavilion Master, do you need me to be clearer? Crack. On the main seat, the teacup in the heaven-mending Pavilion Master's hand made a slight cracking sound. Below him, the various elders of the heaven-mending pavilion had ugly expressions. Everyone knew that no matter if it was Hongluan, the All-Heavens, or the Ziwei Starfield, these ancient inheritances controlled the most resources. Only the things in their hands could make the Demon Palace go to war to fight for them. After a long time, the heaven-mending Pavilion Master put down the teacup in his hand and took a white towel from a maid beside him. He wiped his hands and said, Even if it is as you said, why can't it be the Qi Tian Pavilion of the Ziwei Starfield? Or the various sects of the Tianlan Starfield? Of course we picked the soft persimmon to pinch. How stupid! Beside him Iner interrupted and said in a sweet voice. Impudent. Below him, an elder of the heaven-mending pavilion was furious. He slammed the table and stood up saying, Where did this girl come from? She actually dares to insult my heaven-mending pavilion like this. Ning Chen's gaze shifted and looked at the heaven-mending elder in front of him. He said indifferently, This little girl is just outspoken. Elder, why are you so angry? The heaven-mending pavilion was attacked by the 9th son of the Mahis sect and the Dawn Moon Pavilion Master, and its vitality was greatly damaged. This is no secret. Could it be that Elder really thinks that the people of the world and the Demon Palace do not know about this? On the opposite side, the heaven-mending pavilion elder's expression changed again and again. It was extremely unsightly. Elder Qi, do not be rude. On the main seat, the heaven-mending pavilion master said. He looked at the red-clothed king of hell below and said, Your Excellency King of Hell, please continue. Ningchen nodded and said, Right now, everyone's attention is on the demon army trapped in Buddha Mountain. They have forgotten that the Demon Palace's true strength should be far more than this. If the Demon Palace's hidden forces were to be mobilized now, what would the consequences be? I think that it would be much better than the Demon Palace's Saint Minister escaping. Everyone in the world would be prepared. The heaven-mending pavilion master was silent. After thinking for a long time he said, Many thanks for your Excellency King of Hell's warning. My heaven-mending pavilion will be careful. Ning Chen's face revealed a cold smile. He really did not shed tears until he saw the coffin. Pavilion Master. Ning Chen stood up and looked at the heaven-mending pavilion master in the hall. He said, "Today, I came with sincerity to form an alliance. If Pavilion Master still has doubts about my words, then I can only say that it is a pity. I know that Pavilion Master does not want to provoke the Demon Palace. However, demons are still demons in the end. They will not understand Pavilion Master's painstaking efforts." Speaking up to hear, Ningchen flipped his left hand. A black token appeared and flew towards the main seat. "This is the King of Hell's order. Within 7 days, we will wait for Pavilion Master's reply. After 7 days, forgive us for not being able to wait any longer. At that time, we will have to choose another person." After speaking, Ningchen did not stay any longer. He took the girl beside him and walked out of the hall. Outside the hall, the group of heaven-mending pavilion experts looked at the Pavilion Master on the main seat and waited for instructions. Inside the hall, the heaven-mending Pavilion Master lightly shook his head and signaled for everyone to let them pass. Among the group of heaven-mending pavilion experts, Ning Chun brought Ener forward. The coldness at the corner of his mouth became more and more intense. Not long after, he disappeared into the distance under everyone's gazes. After the two of them left, the expressions of all the heaven-mending pavilion elders in the heaven-mending temple became uglier and uglier. Even though they did not completely believe the words of the Yama King from the underworld, it was still very uncomfortable for someone to say such things in front of them at such a sensitive time. Outside the heaven-mending pavilion, as soon as the two walked out, Ener impatiently grabbed the arm of the person beside her. She raised her little head and waited for praise. Ningchen lightly smiled and patted the head of the girl beside him. He said, "You did well." Ener heard this and giggled. She said, "Ningchen, will they believe it? I think they still don't have the guts to provoke the Demon Palace." "Of course they don't have the guts. Therefore next we will give Sir Butian a strong medicine. Whether they want to get involved in this muddy water or not, it is no longer up to them," Ningchen said with a smile. Chapter 9:17. All Heaven Starfield, Demon Region. Inside a majestic palace, a black-clothed figure had been standing there for several tens of days without leaving. Inside the palace, Jun Wentian sat cross-legged and healed his injuries day and night. He did not take half a step out. The two people confronting each other, one in the light and one in the dark, locked their killing intent. Neither of them moved. "Your Excellency, are you planning to continue waiting like this?" Inside the palace, Jun Wentian opened his eyes and calmly said, "Or perhaps are you confident that you can continue waiting?" Outside the palace, the black-clothed figure looked at the figure inside the palace and said, "If you were at your peak, I would naturally not be able to stop you. However, you are currently injured and the opportunity is in my hands. If you want to leave, I am confident that I can take you down with me." "Are all the people in the underworld lunatics like you?" Jun Wentian said indifferently. Outside the palace, the black-clothed figure did not speak. He concealed his aura and did not leave any trace behind. Jun Wentian did not ask again. He continued to close his eyes and heal his injuries. Right now, he was unable to leave the palace. However, this situation would not last for long. As long as his injuries healed a little more, the people outside would not be able to stop him. At the border of the 3 domains, before countless meteorites, the black-clothed figure appeared. Before him, Ningchen and Ener had been waiting for a long time. Ningchen flipped his right hand, and the soul-suppressing banner appeared. The auras of thousands of great demons were faintly discernible. "I'll leave it to you," Ningchen said. "Amen." The demonic body nodded and received the soul-suppressing banner. The instant the two of them touched, their memories fused together, and they started to plan again. "Be careful. Do not expose your identity," Ningchen warned again. "I understand," the demonic body coldly replied. Then his appearance changed and he activated the chaos scripture. His aura also changed. The demonic body then left. Ningchen looked in the direction that the demonic body left. After a short moment, his body split into 2. The phoenix body appeared and the 3 bodies separated again. "Ener, let's return." Ningchen waved his hand and dispersed the divine restriction. Then he brought the girl beside him back to the underworld. Outside the divine restriction, the phoenix body moved and disappeared. In front of the king of Hell's palace, Ningchen sent Ener back. Then he did not stay any longer and immediately rushed towards the king of Equality Palace. He had finally found a way to treat Ziyi's injuries. Now that Hell was in dire need of more combat power, he couldn't afford to lose this good friend of his. In the all-heaven starfield, phoenixes spread their wings and flew past in a flash. At the same time, in the Hongwuan starfield, demonic qi surged and covered the sky. The three of them went out together to make arrangements for the future Demon Slayer War. Within the Red Luan star region, in front of the heaven-mending pavilion, the demonic body appeared. Its appearance changed, and not a trace of its former appearance could be seen. Behind the demon, more than 1,000 great demons appeared. Boundless and majestic demonic qi surged in the starry sky, extending for thousands of miles. Within heaven-mending pavilion, all of the heaven-mending pavilion experts felt something. They looked towards the horizon, and their faces revealed shock. Kill! In the void, the demon body indifferently said. He turned his hand and clenched his fist. Suddenly, thousands of demons gathered together. A vigorous and overbearing strength constantly converged. Muffled thunder flashed and lightning flashed. Its might was terrifying. In the blink of an eye, the demonic fist descended from the sky and slammed into the heaven-patching formation with a loud bang. The fist, which had gathered the demonic body and the power of thousands of demons, broke the formation. With the formation broken, thousands of demonic figures descended from the sky. The demonic body in the lead surged with demonic qi. Looking at the people below, it coldly said, "Submit, or die." Below, the heaven-mending pavilion master looked at the demons in the sky. His expression was abnormally gloomy. It was as the king of hell had expected. The demon palace's next target was indeed his heaven-mending pavilion. Not allowing any more luck, the heaven-mending pavilion master no longer hesitated. He took a step forward and leapt into the sky above the sacred palace. Soon after, with a shout, he raised his body to the limit and summoned the heaven-mending pavilion's immortal artifact. In the next moment, a shocking scene occurred. Behind the heaven-mending temple, multicolored light shone as an immortal pagoda flickered with green light. The pagoda had 9 floors, and on each floor, layers upon layers of complex symbols flickered with light. Its might was shocking. Seeing this, the demonic body's figure rapidly flashed and took the initiative to attack first. Demonic essence gathered, and a fist with all of its strength smashed towards the heaven-mending pavilion master. The heaven-mending pavilion master's expression became serious. He urged the immortal pagoda to block in front of him. With a world-shaking collision, the immortal pagoda's brilliance blocked the demonic qi and resolved the crisis. The Linglong immortal pagoda is indeed extraordinary. My demonic palace wants it. After speaking, the demonic body let out a shout. Within the rising black flames, an incomparable divine weapon descended into the world. Its entire body was pitch black, and the flames were burning. The scorching hot aura was unbearable. Sick King's 3 days sword. When the divine sword appeared, the heaven and earth were shocked. The demonic body waved the sword, and in the blink of an eye, the black sword light chopped down from the sky. In an instant, the heaven and earth could not bear this terrifying power, and collapsed with a loud bang. With the crisis looming over him, the heaven-mending pavilion master's pupils shrank. He once again urged the immortal pagoda to block the black sword light. A painful muffled groan sounded. The black sword light passed through the immortal light and chopped down. The sick king's sword, which was based on the execution of immortals, suppressed the Linglong immortal pagoda, and heavily injured the heaven-mending pavilion master. Blood splattered everywhere and dyed the horizon red. Before everyone could react, the demonic body's figure flashed past. It raised its hand and grabbed the immortal pagoda. With a step, it rose into the sky. Below, everyone was shocked. Just as they were about to take action, another terrifying sword light cut through the horizon and descended from the sky. With a loud bang, the sword light descended and cut open 100 miles of land. This was the first time the world had seen such astonishing might. Today is only a warning. When I return, it will be the day of the heaven-mending pavilion's destruction. After saying that, the thousands of demonic bodies in the sky faded away and disappeared one after another. In front of Mount Shumi, the phoenix body stood still. It had already waited for many days. The 10,000 Lotus Buddha world was about to reach its limit, and it was also time to retrieve the immortal trapping sword. In the all-heaven starfield above the demon domain, demonic aura flashed and disappeared. After leaving for several days, the demonic body returned once again. Not far from the demon palace's sacred palace, in a majestic palace, Jun Wentian, who had been recuperating for several days, opened his eyes. He stood up and walked out of the palace. "Sir, please show yourself." Jun Wentian's gaze swept across the abnormally quiet palace and said calmly, "It seems that your injuries have more or less healed." As he spoke, black flames jumped, and a figure hidden in the darkness walked out. "Although I have not fully healed, I should be able to walk out of this palace," Jun Wentian said indifferently. "Since that's the case, then let's give it a try." After saying that, the black-clothed figure walked out. The immortal pagoda in his left hand bobbed up and down with multicolored light. The divine sword in his right hand hummed, and black flames surged. "Exquisite pagoda?" Seeing the immortal pagoda in the former's hand, a strange expression flashed through Jun Wentian's eyes. He said, "So the underworld and the heaven-mending pavilion have such a relationship. In this world, it is not only the underworld that does not want you to walk out of this palace," the demonic body said indifferently. "How can the light of a firefly compete with the brilliance of the moon? The heaven-mending pavilion is nothing more than a clown. I never expected that you would dare to make an enemy out of the demon palace." Jun Wentian waved his hand, and 3 sharp blades appeared. Impressive demonic might swept through all directions. The great undertaking of killing demons is the responsibility of the world. The righteousness of the heaven-mending pavilion's pavilion master, and the elders is not something that you can understand. The immortal pagoda hummed and multicolored light fell. The demonic body moved and the hell opened. Chapter 9:18. In the devil domain, majestic palaces towered like the clouds. In front of one of the palaces, 2 devils were battling, and black flames filled the sky. The first move was the sickly king's sword. Black flames surged, and its might shook the entire devil domain. In front of the palace, Jun Wentian blocked the divine weapon with his halberd. With a loud clang, he was forced back half a step. Sickly king's 3-sun sword. Close at hand, the devil body pushed his energy to the extreme. Instantly, a black sun spread out, devouring the heavens and earth, burning the devil world. The battle between the 2 devils was so sudden. In the devil domain, many experts were shocked as they looked in the direction of the battle. In front of the palace, the 2 of them had pushed their energy to the extreme since the beginning of the battle. The sickly king's divine sword clashed continuously, and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. After several moves, Jun Wentian raised his energy and gathered lightning in his palm. Then he slammed his palm towards the sickly king. The devil body took a step forward, dodging the incoming attack. Soon after, his sword condensed into black flames and slashed down. Rumble. The sickly king's divine sword rose again, blocking the divine sword. The 2 strongest divine weapons in the world clashed, and the flames spread between the 2, engulfing the 9 heavens. Who is so capable to fight with Jun Wentian to such an extent? Within the demonic region, within an inconspicuous hall, several old figures opened their eyes and looked into the distance. One of them spoke in a serious voice. "That's right, old man. It should be a Yama king from the underworld. These days, many of our devil palace's plans have been ruined by him." Another person spoke. "That's not right. Aren't all Yama kings of the underworld masked? This person isn't wearing a Yama king mask." A third person spoke. "It doesn't matter. Since this person chose to be our enemy, he is our enemy. As for his identity, it doesn't matter." The fourth person spoke calmly. "Do any of you know when he arrived?" The fifth person asked. "No idea." In the darkness, the old figures shook their heads and answered. "This person has a supreme treasure that can conceal his aura. Moreover, his strength is not weak. He is a considerable threat to our devil palace." The sixth person spoke. Let's decide. After the six of them spoke, the seventh person did not remain silent. He calmly said, "Are we going to attack or not? I suggest that we don't do anything. This person's strength should be below Junwentian's. Before we get the Devil Master's order, we shouldn't act on our own accord. The Devil Master is currently in seclusion and won't be paying attention to the matters outside for the time being. We have the authority to make a decision. I suggest that we help Junwentian," the second person said. Seconded. 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 The four of them nodded in agreement. More than half of the votes were cast. In the darkness, the seventh person looked forward and said indifferently, "Since the four of you have chosen to take action, this matter is decided. Who will do it?" "I'll do it." As soon as he finished speaking, a figure stood up from the darkness. Without another word, he walked out of the hall. At the same time, in the distant battlefield, the demon body sensed something and its expression turned solemn. "It's not very appropriate to be distracted in battle," Junwentian said indifferently as he struck out with his palm. "Your Excellency's helper has arrived. Forgive me for not being able to accompany you any longer." The demon body activated the immortal pagoda. Multicolored light surrounded it and blocked the former's palm strike. Then it took a step forward and was about to leave. "Since our esteemed guest is here, why are you in a hurry to leave?" At this moment, a gust of wind blew. In the wind, a figure in an ancient green robe appeared. Moving like the wind, he increased his speed and blocked the demon body's path of retreat. The demon body focused and slashed with the sickly king's divine sword. Black flames surged and engulfed everything within 100 miles. Wind riding technique. The next move had a completely different power. The old man in the green robe gathered his vitality. In an instant, the wind blew and the shocking move engulfed the black flames within 100 miles. The demon body focused and activated his extreme vitality. The immortal pagoda and divine sword hummed together. Multicolored light and black flames rolled out and collided with the terrifying storm. The two moves collided, each destroying the other. Outside the battlefield, Junwentian frowned slightly. He stood there and didn't make another move. "Who are you? What's your relationship with Bai Wangran?" After one move, the demon body looked at the old man in front of him and asked, "I'm from the Wind Trust sect. Bai Wangran is my disciple," the old man in the green robe said indifferently. "After trapping a young one, I didn't expect an old one to appear." The demon body's eyes turned colder. He glanced at Junwentian behind him and said coldly, "Aren't you going to make a move? If the two of you join forces, you might be able to keep me here." "I, Junwentian, never need to join forces with anyone." Outside the battlefield, Junwentian said indifferently. Inside the battlefield, the Wind Trust sect frowned slightly but didn't say anything. Everyone in the demon palace knew about Junwentian's temper. It was useless to say anything. The demon body retracted his gaze and looked at the person opposite him. "Now you're the only one left. Do you still need to call for help? To deal with you, I alone am enough." The Wind Trust sect snorted coldly and stepped into the void. The tornado reappeared and the dragon roared. The demon body took a step and retreated 100 feet. The sickly king urged again. Black flames engulfed and a black sun rose into the sky, illuminating the world. The flames in the wind were boundless and terrifying. As the wind spread, half of the demon domain was set ablaze. Seeing this, the Wind Trust sect immediately retracted his attack. He raised his palm and stirred up the wind and clouds, causing rain to fall. With a boom, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Heavy rain poured down, trying to extinguish the flames. However, the black flames weren't afraid of the rain and continued to spread. The fire grew bigger and bigger. "Goodbye." Hundreds of feet away, the demonic body said coldly. Above the sickly king, the sun shone brightly. 3 black suns coiled up and immediately fell from the sky, attacking in 3 different directions. The demon body stepped forward and turned into a black ray of light, disappearing into the horizon. The Wind Trust sect's face was gloomy. He raised his hand and condensed yuan. Violent winds spread out and blocked the 3 black suns. Junwentian, you. After the people from the underworld left, the Wind Trust sect looked at the man who hadn't made a move yet. Jun Wentian glanced at the old man in front of him and said indifferently, "Next time, don't blame me for being impolite." With that, Jun Wentian didn't stay any longer. He turned and walked into the hall behind him. At the intersection of the three regions, demonic aura surged. The demon body returned and waved his hand to disperse the divine restriction outside the underworld. He walked in. In the King of Hell's palace, Ningchen sensed something. He smiled gently at the girl in front of him and said, "I'm going to take care of some things. I'll be back soon." A man nodded lightly and said gently, "Go ahead. Go ahead." At the side, Ina also nodded her head in a similar manner, and said in a delicate voice. Ningchen chuckled and patted the little girl's head. Then he got up and walked outside. The demon body walked to the front of the king's palace. The two of them met and looked at each other. The result was clear. "Looks like you succeeded," Ningchen said. The demon body nodded. He flipped his left hand and the Linglong celestial pagoda appeared. Suddenly, rays of auspicious light rose with extraordinary power. Ningchen looked at the celestial pagoda in the demon body's hand and smiled. "Now, I'm even more certain that the heaven-mending pavilion doesn't have a fourth realm." The Linglong celestial pagoda was the most precious treasure of the heaven-mending pavilion. They couldn't afford to lose it. The demon body snatched this item forcefully, but no fourth realm appeared. The result was clear. Without this pagoda, the heaven-mending pavilion's strength will be even weaker. In the future, we won't be able to resist the demon palace, the demon body said lightly. The heaven-mending pavilion is already at the end of its rope. All I want is for them to buy some time, Ningchen said calmly. There's one more thing. There are still experts in the demon region. The demon body explained the battle with the Wind Trust sect and reminded, this person's cultivation is above the Moon Weaver girl and by Wang Ran. If he wasn't worried about the demon region being destroyed, it wouldn't have been so easy for me to escape. Hearing this, Ningchen was silent for a moment. Then he nodded and said, it's not surprising that the demon palace has other experts. After all, there's still a demon master. The demon palace's strength is far from reaching its bottom line. Don't forget what you promised. The demon body looked at the main body in front of him and said in a low voice, don't tell me you've already forgotten the other reason why you reopened the underworld. Ningchen shook his head and said, I won't forget. It's just that there's still no news of the ghost girl. However, as long as the name of the underworld spreads, the ghost girl will eventually hear it. She's the Yama king of the underworld. Only the underworld is her home. What if she can't hear it? Qing Ning said that there was a problem with the ghost girl's resurrection. Her consciousness didn't seem to have returned. Otherwise, she wouldn't have left with the immortal corpse patrol without leaving behind a few words, the demon body said coldly. Ningchen sighed inwardly and didn't explain further. I just want to remind you not to forget what you should do. This is what we owe her. It's also the only value of my existence. The demon body said coldly. Then his figure dissipated and entered the former's body. Inside the palace, a man walked out. Looking at the man in front of the palace, she reached out and gently smoothed his tired face. She smiled and said, take it slow. One day, we'll find the ghost girl sister. I'm sorry. Looking at the clean and flawless woman in front of him, Ning Chen's face revealed a deep apology. There's no need to apologize. A man said softly, you don't owe me. From the beginning to the end, you didn't owe me anything. It's just that I chose to like you, and it made you feel burdened. 100 years ago, I asked you if you were willing to wait for me. You didn't answer, so I took it as your answer. 100 years later, I waited for you, and I'll continue to wait. Silly girl. Ningchen sighed softly and said, why? I like you. A man looked at the person in front of her and smiled. That's the only answer. No matter what you choose, no matter where you go in the future, I'll do my best to follow you. Their eyes met. For some unknown reason, Ningchen gradually didn't dare to look at the woman in front of him. A man withdrew her gaze and smiled gently. You'll never lie to us. He was so smart, smarter than anyone in the world. He was eloquent and had deceived everyone in the world. However, he wasn't willing to tell her a single white lie. It was like this in the past, and it was like this now. His feelings were always hidden deep in his heart. It was so deep that he didn't want anyone to see it. Why wasn't she the first person to meet him? Chapter 919. Buddha Mountain, 10,000 Lotus Barrier. In the sky, the light of the lotuses grew weaker and weaker, on the verge of collapse. Within the Buddha dimension, numerous figures stood in midair, while blocking layer after layer of Buddhist lights and sword lights. After over a month of time, the bodies of all the devils had already been dyed crimson red. No matter how formidable their cultivations were, they'd still reach the point of exhaustion after forcefully holding on for over a month. Outside the Buddha world, a red-clothed figure stood quietly. His face was so familiar that it made people hate him. Inside the Buddha world, the experts of the demon palace looked at the people outside with killing intent in their eyes. In the void, the black and white chess pieces around Jietian's crisscrossed, blocking the light of Buddha and sword radiance from the ground. His eyes were looking at the people outside the world of Buddhism, calm as usual, without the slightest ripple. In this game, no matter how this kid and the underworld struggled, the destruction of Buddha Mountain was a fact. The heavens were united, and no one could stop the demon palace's footsteps. The sun set and the moon rose. In the sky, the lotuses were about to collapse. Outside the Buddha world, many figures descended from the sky. Their faces were covered with the evil faces of the Yama kings. Under the night sky, they looked ferocious and terrifying. The leader of the Yama kings, a red-clothed and blood-red-haired Yama, stood quietly. His powerful aura swept out. The might of the king of hell was undeniable. Outside the Buddha realm, the phoenix body turned around and looked at the crowd. She nodded lightly. Looks like everyone is here. In the Buddha world, Jietian looked at the figures of the Yama kings in front of him, and said indifferently, "The Saint Arbiter is about to come out. How dare we not come out to welcome him?" The leader of the Yama kings, the red-clothed Yama, stepped forward and said coldly, 6 Yama kings of the underworld and the 9th son of Maha's sect. Jietian glanced at the exhausted experts of the demon palace in the Buddha world and said, "You all came prepared. You probably want to catch all of us in one fell swoop." "Indeed. Let's see if the Saint Arbiter will cooperate," the red-clothed Yama said coldly. "Saint Arbiter." Below, Moonweaver and Bai Wangran worked together to block the immortal trapping sword chi that surged out from the ground. They looked outside with unusually serious expressions. Now they were seriously exhausted. It was impossible for them to block the 6 Yama kings of the underworld, and the 9th son of Maha's sect. "Focus on breaking the array, don't worry about anything else," Jietian said in the sky. "Yes." The Moonweaver maiden and Bai Wangran grunted in response. They didn't ask any more questions and continued to break the formation. Friends from the underworld, would it be possible for me to choose my opponent first? In front of the Buddha world, the phoenix figure turned her head and spoke. "Sure." All of the Yama kings nodded in response. "Thank you." The phoenix body turned around and looked at the barefooted woman standing in the air in the Buddha realm. The sadness in her eyes was difficult to conceal. In the Buddha world, the demonic butterfly sensed something and turned around to look at the young man in front of her. There was no longer any trace of gentleness in her cold and emotionless eyes. In the air, Jietian calmly looked at this scene as he spoke. The memories of Butterfly and the flower had already been erased by him. Right now, the only thing she had was the killing instinct that she had devoured from the 9 true realm experts of the Devil Palace. The weakness of the 9th son of the Mahist sect was truly too obvious. This was also the reason why he dared to borrow the hands of this son to eliminate his opponents like the Qilin Pavilion and the Heaven Mending Pavilion. Boom. At this moment, the 10,000 lotus barrier in the sky collapsed. Endless Buddhist light turned into specks of light and dissipated. Below, the Moonweaver maiden and Bai Wangran worked together to break the Yellow Spring's divine restriction. Immediately, red light filled the sky and scattered between heaven and earth. The Buddha world and divine restriction were broken. The Moonweaver maiden's figure appeared and rushed down, wanting to seize the opportunity to snatch the immortal sword. But at this moment, a red light flashed. The phoenix flew at top speed and arrived on the immortal sword before anyone else. Stepping on the ground, the immortal sword was thrust into the ground. A majestic sword current soared into the sky. The Moonweaver Maiden's pupils constricted. She turned around and slashed with the moon god's insignia. A huge star appeared behind her and spiraled. Sword light broke out and blocked the sword current that soared into the sky. In an instant, the two sword intents collided. Rumbling sounds rang out as the sword intents spread and devoured each other. You want to snatch the sword? You're not qualified. The phoenix said coldly. Her left hand clenched and Taishur appeared. She looked at the Yama kings not far away and said calmly, "Friends, I'll leave these people to you." As soon as she finished speaking, an earth-shattering phoenix cry rang out. In the red flames that filled the sky, the phoenix's ancestral awakening appeared. Behind the phoenix, a pair of phoenix wings appeared. The huge wings of fire flapped, and a terrifying fire element rose continuously. The phenomenon of burning the sky and boiling the sea filled the entire Buddha mountain. Not far away, the demonic butterfly felt the threat coming from the front. She looked over, but there was no fear on her cold and emotionless face. Her demonic aura erupted. Instantly, black butterflies filled the sky. Behind the demonic butterfly, a huge pair of butterfly wings spread open. Demonic waves roiled, frightening ghosts and gods. Gods and demons, phoenixes and demonic butterflies collided. The battle had yet to begin, but the red flames and black butterflies that filled the sky had already split the heavens and earth into two. Intense sounds of collisions rang out. The Buddha mountain shook, unable to bear this terrifying power, and rumbled as it collapsed. The battle was about to begin. This shocking scene caused everyone present to raise their eyebrows. While they were shocked, they also felt their hearts palpitate. Not to mention the ninth son of Mahis Gate. The butterfly in the flower had been trapped in the Buddha world for more than a month, but it still retained such shocking strength. It was truly unbelievable. The 9 netherworlds heaven-devouring demon scripture is truly worthy of being called the #1 demonic art in the world. Outside the battle, the Moonweaver saw this shocking scene and said in a low voice. Fortunately, the butterfly in the flower was under their control. Otherwise, it would have been a huge problem. Moonweaver, the battle between you and me has yet to be decided. Let's continue. At this moment, Yama King Mahis walked over. As he walked, the mountain and river sword realm opened. The surrounding world turned into black mountains and white water. The only sword skill in the world was truly admirable. The Moonweaver came back to her senses. Looking at the man walking between the mountains and rivers, her eyes narrowed slightly. Her slender hand waved, and the moonlight that reversed the water reappeared. Sword light pierced through the air, shooting toward the former. With a loud rumble, the sword light broke through a layer of mountains and rivers. Mahis Gate's figure disappeared. When he reappeared, he had advanced 100 steps. Such a strange scene was incomprehensible. In this mountain and river sword realm, everything you see is just a dream. Unfortunately, you will never be able to walk out of this dream. As he spoke, the mountains and rivers shifted. Ink and sword chi crisscrossed, without beginning or end, majestically pressing down on the woman in the sword realm. The battle had begun. The Devil Palace's army was in danger. At this moment, the wind and clouds in the sky swirled. Numerous old figures walked out, wearing ancient clothes. Their auras were extremely powerful. Bai Wangran was shocked when he saw the person who had arrived. He immediately bowed and said respectfully, "Master." In the sky, among the 7 old men in ancient clothes, Feng Xinzong nodded lightly and said calmly, "Rise." Bai Wangran stood up and looked at the 7 people. His expression was difficult to conceal. Why would Master and the others appear here? Could it be that the Devil Lord had come out of seclusion? 7 Sins Sect, you finally arrived. In the sky above Buddha Mountain, Jietiance looked at the 7 people in front of him and said calmly. Chapter 920. In the ruins of Buddha Mountain, the flames of war raged. The 7 Sins sect of the Demon Palace had appeared, and the situation had changed. When the 7 of them appeared, demonic clouds covered the moon. Their extremely powerful aura swept up the wind and clouds, and a terrifying pressure descended from the sky, causing the entire Buddha kingdom to tremble. When the phoenix body and the 6 kings of hell saw this, their expressions darkened. The hidden power of the demon palace had finally appeared. 7 against 7, fair and just. Come. Feng Xinzong looked at the 6 kings of hell, and the 9th son of Ma's sect. The leader of the 6 kings of hell, the red-clothed king of hell, glanced at the 7 of them and the 3 guardians of the demon palace behind him. Retreat. The opportunity had been lost. The red-clothed king of hell made a prompt decision and ordered. Not far away, the 5 kings of hell received the order at the same time. Their figures flashed, and they withdrew from the battle. On the other side, the phoenix body sighed softly in the red flames. He clenched his left hand, and the trapping immortal flew up. Then the phoenix fire wings on his back flapped, and he turned into a fire phoenix and flew away. In the sky above Buddha Mountain, Jie Tiance, the 7 Sins sect, and the others did not stop them, allowing them to leave. Master. Bai Wangran stepped forward and bowed again. In the 7 Sins sect, the Feng Xinzong nodded lightly and did not say anything. He raised his right hand, and immediately, a powerful force spread out and entered the former's body, helping him suppress his injuries. The other 6 looked at the battlefield with different expressions. In this battle, the demon palace had suffered so many losses. The 9th son of Ma's sect and the Buddha Lord of Buddha Mountain were indeed extraordinary. Let's go. It's time to go back. Jie Tiance glanced at the crowd and immediately walked forward. The Moon Weaver and the demon generals followed. Not far away, the 7 Sins sect's figures gradually disappeared into the night. At the intersection of the 3 regions, outside the divine restriction, 7 figures appeared. The red-clothed king of hell waved his hand to disperse the divine restriction and walked in. The 6 of them followed. After entering the divine restriction, the meteorite returned to its original position, and the restriction opened again. In the king of hell's palace, a beautiful woman sat in front of a cute and playful girl. The 2 of them were playing chess step by step. The entire chessboard was almost filled with chess pieces, but there was still no clear winner. Your master and the others are back. At this moment, Man put down the chess piece in her hand. I'll go get him. Hearing this, Iner immediately got up, threw down the chess piece, and jogged to the front of the hall to welcome him. In front of the King Yanlua's palace, the crowd walked over and took off their masks, revealing familiar faces. Ning Chun. Looking at the figure in front of the crowd, Iner shouted. Ning Chun looked at the girl in front of him and nodded with a smile. He reached out and patted the girl's head, saying, Master has important matters to discuss. I'll accompany you later. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Chun strode into the main hall. Behind him, the other Yama kings also entered one after another, and all of them wore solemn expressions. Iner pouted, her little face full of unhappiness as she stood at the door sulking. Wild walked out from the hall and said softly, Your master is busy. Don't be angry. Little mistress. Iner looked at the woman in front of her, her pretty little face revealing an aggrieved expression. A man raised her hand to rub the girl's hair and said with a smile, I'll accompany you to practice the sword, okay? Iner nodded lightly and pointed her nose at the inside of the hall. Then, she hugged the arm of the person in front of her, and a smile appeared on her face again. The 2 of them left. In the King Yanlua's palace, the 6 Yama kings took their positions and waited for a moment. In front of the hall, several figures arrived and walked towards their respective seats. What happened? Jian Er looked at the solemn expressions of everyone present and asked. A new strong practitioner has appeared in the demon palace, Mu Qianshang replied. Why? This is expected. What's so strange about it? Jian Er frowned. What if it's 7 strong practitioners on the same level as Jun Wentian? Mu Qianshang asked in a low voice. Jian Er heard this and was shocked. Disbelief appeared on his face. How could it be? Don't panic. Ning Chen opened his mouth and said seriously. The demon body once fought with the Wind Trust sect of the 7 Sins sect. That person's cultivation is indeed not inferior to Jun Wentian's. However, the most terrifying thing about Jun Wentian is his eye that surpasses the third realm. If they really fight, the threat of these 7 people should not reach Jun Wentian's level. Everyone fell silent. Although that was the case, no one knew what trump cards the Seven Sins sect had before they really fought. It was already troublesome for one strong practitioner of this level to appear. Now that 7 of them had appeared at once, they were truly at a loss. Seeing that everyone's morale was low, Ningchen smiled and said, "Everyone, this is just a temporary predicament. There's no need to frown. From the very beginning, we already knew that the Demon Palace's strength was shocking. We were even prepared to face a 4th realm. Now the Demon Palace has not yet produced a 4th realm, which is already a gain for us." "Jiming, you're really optimistic," Luo Xingqian said from below. "Compared to our helplessness when we faced the Nether King, friend, we should be content," Ningchen said with a smile. "Huh." Luo Xingqian smiled helplessly and said, "Don't mention those days again. I'm afraid I'll have nightmares." The 2 of them exchanged a few simple words. Among the seats, those who had experienced the great calamity of the divine continent all laughed at themselves. Jiming was right. They had all climbed out from a pile of corpses. It was really embarrassing to be frightened by such a small difficulty. Isn't it just a few old fellows? Let's fight them one by one. I don't believe that these 7 old fellows can stay together forever. If we can't beat them one-on-one, it shouldn't be a problem for the few of us to fight one of them," Mu Qianshang said with a hint of anger on his face. Hearing that, everyone laughed softly. Only Ji Ming and his friends from the Divine Continent could say that they would fight one of them with a few people so confidently. "What are you laughing at?" Mu Qianshang looked at everyone with disdain and said, "I also want to fight one-on-one openly. Unfortunately, those who did that back then were all smashed into smithereens by the Nether King. I've already done it with dozens of people fighting one of them. What's the point of being pretentious now?" Ha! Everyone chuckled again, but no one said anything. In special times, special methods must be used. No one could deny that. At the head of the seats, seeing that everyone's morale had almost recovered, the smile on Ning Chen's face disappeared and he said, "Everyone, let's discuss how to fight against the Devil Palace, whose strength has greatly increased." Hearing that, everyone's expression turned serious, and they quietly waited for the former's arrangement. Ning Chen looked at everyone and said calmly, "In the next period of time, the Devil Palace should begin to rest and reorganize their army. Therefore, we will have a short buffer period. The most important thing is still to find a way to increase our strength. Once the war starts again, the opponents we face will undoubtedly be more terrifying." In the previous battle of Buddha Mountain, Shenji of Shenji Peak and Reverend Baiwe of the Baiwe clan appeared. "Can we pull these 2 people to our camp?" Qi Yanxia suggested. "We can, but it's not good for our identities to be known by more people. It's more appropriate for me to discuss the alliance as the 9th disciple of Mo Gate." Ningchen nodded and said, "Knowing destiny, perhaps we can consider bringing more experts from the inner world," Jian Er said seriously. Jian Er, who was at the side, said seriously, "It would be difficult for them to fight against the demonic palace with just the few of them. They needed more battle power." Jian Er is right. Luo Xingqian also nodded and said, "We can't do all the dirty work. It's time for others to contribute." Ningchen shook his head and said, "It's fine to bring more people, but it's better to have quality than quantity. The reason why the major star fields can't fight against the Devil Palace isn't because they are weaker than the Devil Palace. There are so many experts in each star field, but they can't be as strict as the Devil Palace. Without a unified command, they will only be defeated one by one. We do lack battle power, but we also need to be strict in our selection. I have a candidate in mind, but I don't know if young Master Ning can find her," King Aaron said with a smile. "Please speak," Ning Chen said. "The first disciple of the Heavenly Music Pavilion, Wu Qingying. 100 years ago, she helped in the ancient battlefield. She is as strong as us and should be of great help," King Aaron said softly. Ning Chen heard this and nodded. He did have an impression of this woman. She was strong. If they could find her, she would be of great help to them. Can we invite that Chongling female supreme? She may be stronger than us, Mu Qianshang suggested. The female supreme was the first to enter the treading immortal realm in the divine lands. However, she was too low-key and rarely fought. I can't guarantee that the female supreme will come. I can only try my best, Ningchen said. What about Mu Qingxue? Knowing destiny, Jian, have you not heard any news of her in the past 100 years? Mu Qianshang frowned and said. Ningchen was silent and then shook his head gently. Below, Jian sighed softly and said, I have searched for little junior sister's whereabouts for a long time, but there is no news. Maybe she doesn't want us to find her. A pity. A trace of regret appeared on Mu Qianshang's face. In terms of talent, the daughter of Desolate City looked down on the world. Today she should be in the True Realm or even the True Realm. In the battle with the Nether King, Mu Qingshue's speed played a crucial role. If she could appear, it would be of great help to them when they fought against the Demon Palace in the future. While everyone conversed, a man stood silently outside the hall, and he watched the little girl practice her sword while a trace of a warm smile hung on his face from the beginning until the end. After practicing for a long time, Ina wiped the sweat from her forehead and ran forward. She said sweetly, Little Masteress, I'm done. A man smiled softly and wiped the sweat from the girl's face. She said, Are you hungry? I'll take you to eat. Okay. Ina nodded vigorously and said. A man smiled again and pulled the former's hand to the side hall. In front of the King Yama Palace, the kings of hell who had been discussing for a long time walked out. When they saw the two, they nodded in greeting. A man smiled and returned the greeting. She did not speak and led in, to the side hall. In front of the hall, Mu Qianshang and Luofei looked at the former's back and fell silent. Back then, there were many rumors in the world that the little princess of the barbarian dynasty was likely to marry into the great Xia. Unfortunately, in the end, the rumors were just rumors and did not become true. Chapter 921. Central State's Tearless City. Inside the Red Monarch's palace, Red Monarch Wu Lei was cultivating day and night in a dark red dress. Above the main hall, a crimson cauldron was sprinkling a dense mist. Powerful fire elemental energy filled the hall, aiding the current Red Monarch in his breakthrough. Outside the main hall, Qing Ning looked at the little girl who was constantly fighting against fate. A trace of heartache flashed across her eyes. This was already the fourth time. If she failed again, she really didn't know if the little girl would be able to take it. Sister Qing Ning. Behind her, Ruoshi came over with the prepared elixirs and whispered, Can Wu Lei succeed this time? Qing Ning sighed and immediately shook her head. The chances are very small. Wu Lei's aptitude is good, but compared to your young lord's friends, there's still a big gap. Last time, she was disturbed at the Ji house and failed to break through. Her qi and meridians were severely damaged. It's too difficult for her to break through again. If it really doesn't work, let's take Wu Lei to the young lord and see if he has a way, Ruoshi worriedly said. Wait a little longer. Qing Ning's face was solemn. Ningchen is currently busy dealing with the Demon Palace. We shouldn't disturb him for the time being. Hearing this, Ruoshi fell silent and then gently nodded. Ugh. At this moment, a painful groan sounded from inside the palace. The cauldron went out of control, and endless red flames surged wildly. Not good. Outside the palace, the two people's expressions changed. Qing Ning's body moved, and her lotus aura was released. She quickly flew into the palace. At this moment, the heavens and earth suddenly sank. Above the void, a beautiful and familiar figure appeared. In an instant, she walked into the main hall. Her delicate hand condensed energy, and an abnormally powerful force dispersed the flames and poured into the woman's body. Seeing this person, Qing Ning's expression showed a touch of surprise. Why is she here? Not long after, the flames in the hall gradually subsided and returned to the cauldron. Miss Qing Ning, long time no see. Nu Chong looked back and smiled at the woman behind her. Nu Chong. Qing Ning politely bowed. How have you been? Nu Chong nodded. Her eyes flashed as she looked at Hong Wulei beside her. This girl is too impatient. Her chi has yet to fully recover. Rashly attacking the corporeal stage will only worsen her injuries. Qing Ning sighed softly and said, ever since Wulei failed in her first attempt to break through to the reality realm, her injuries have never healed. Your Majesty also knows that this kind of injury is the hardest to recover from. This girl is unwilling to be trapped in the emptiness realm for the rest of her life, so no one can persuade her otherwise. It seems that Jiming Marquis has given me another big problem. Nu Chang smiled. Oh. When Qing Ning heard this, a strange expression appeared on her face. What do you mean? He didn't say anything. A helpless smile appeared on Nu Chang's face as she said, in the letter he sent, he asked me to go to the underworld to help him. However, before I left, he asked me to take a look at Tearless City. Qing Ning chuckled. This guy only knows how to trouble others. The woman smiled and said, I was wondering why the messenger couldn't come here. It turns out that the Marquis of Jiming asked me to do something. Does your Majesty have a way? Qing Ning's expression turned serious as she said, this one will do her best. Nu Chang looked at the woman beside her and sighed softly. 100 years ago, for the life scroll, I spent 1,000 years of Changling's resources to save Jiming Marquis' life. I had not expected that after 100 years, it will be used up again. As she spoke, Nu Chang's left hand flipped. In an instant, light rose. An irregular bead flew out and slowly entered Hong Wulei's Dantian energy sea. This is the 3-life bead. Nu Chang withdrew her hand with a hint of heartache in her eyes. She said, while it is not as good as the legendary 3-life stone that can change fate, it should be enough to heal this girl's injuries. Qing Ning looked at the girl whose breathing was gradually stabilizing and sighed in relief. She looked at the Changling female supreme and bowed respectfully. She said, I thank your Majesty on behalf of Wulei. No need. Nu Chang shook her head. This one will make Jiming Marquis pay for this. He can't run away. Qing Ning smiled softly. Of course. Well, Jiming Marquis urged this one to go over. I will not stay any longer. Let's talk again when you come over. Nu Chang said. Qing Ning nodded. Farewell, your Majesty. Nu Chang nodded slightly and looked at the woman outside the hall. She said, Ruoshi, see you in the future. With that, Nu Chang did not delay any longer. Her figure faded and disappeared from the hall. Outside the hall, Ruoshi stepped into the hall with worry in her eyes. She said, Sister Qing Ning, young master even invited your Majesty. Did he encounter some trouble? Don't worry. Qing Ning comforted softly. Your young master can handle it. There is no hurdle in the world that he can't cross. Sister Qing Ning. Ruoshi's eyes dimmed. I miss young master. When Wulei recovers, we will go find him. Qing Ning nodded. Red Luan, purple myrtle, and all heavens. At the intersection of the 3 domains, thousands of meteors floated. It seemed chaotic, but on each meteor, there were divine restrictions. Danger lurked at every step. More than 10 days later, Nu Chang appeared outside the thousands of meteors. She looked at the dense array in front of her with a strange light in her eyes. She was no stranger to the time restriction and yellow spring restriction. However, to be able to set up such a grand array with stars as the foundation, Jiming Marquis was really extraordinary. At this moment, the thousands of meteors suddenly moved. The divine restrictions opened and the underworld appeared. On the vast and boundless continent, 10 great halls stood on it. It was majestic and made people sigh. In the next moment, in front of the divine restrictions, a stream of light gathered. A figure in plain clothes walked out, and personally appeared to greet. Nu Chang, welcome. Ningchen looked at Changling's Nu Chang and smiled. This one actually didn't want to come. Nu Chang smiled. You invited me here for no good reason. Jiming Marquis. I can help you, but the reward cannot be less. Ha. Ningchen smiled and said. How can this one's little things enter Nu Chang's eyes? This is not a place to talk. Nu Chang, please come with me. Then Ningchen turned and walked into the divine restrictions, leading the way. The female Chang stepped forward and followed him, disappearing into the divine restriction together. The two appeared in front of the Yama Palace, and then walked into the palace. In front of the discussion table of the 10 Yama kings, the experts stood up and bowed to the newcomers. Among the crowd, Lin Yuzhen had a strange expression when she saw this. This new Chang's status seemed extraordinary. Everyone, do not be so courteous. New Chang looked at the crowd and said with a smile, now you have all grown into experts who can hold your own. You can talk to me as equals. We do not dare. Aaron Ming King said softly, New Chang is an elder. We should bow to you. She also came from the homeland of West Buddha. She knew how terrifying this Chongling New Chang was. The ancient lands of Chongling had always been a taboo of West Earth due to the existence of this New Chang. New Chang finally noticed the woman at the front and said with a strange expression, you are that Buddha girl of Tianfu Mountain? As expected, you have great talent. In just 100 years, you have entered true realm. New Chang praises me too much. Aaron does not dare. Aaron Ming King responded. New Chang smiled slightly and swept her gaze across the people present. She said, it seems you have really encountered trouble. With everyone's strength, it is enough to sweep through half of the galaxy. Why are you so worried now? It is a long story. New Chang, please sit and let us speak slowly. Ning Chen reached out and said respectfully. No need to be so polite. New Chang walked to the discussion table and casually found a seat. She said, speak. Ning Chen did not continue to be pretentious. He walked to the front seat and sat down. He said, the matter is like this. In the next hour, Ning Chen described in detail what had happened in the past few days, especially the Battle of Tianfu Mountain and the Seven Sins sect of the Mo Palace. He explained seriously. Butterfly in the flower. New Chang frowned slightly and said, is it that central continent blade god? Yes. Ning Chen nodded and said, it is a pity that she is a genius of a generation. New Chang sighed softly and said, in that case, other than the 4 great protectors of the Mo Palace, the even stronger Seven Sins sect has appeared. The Mo Palace's foundation is really terrifying. What is even more terrifying is that the Demon Lord has not appeared yet. This means that the Mo Palace still has some strength left. If we do not force the Demon Lord out, we will never see the true bottom line of the Mo Palace. Ning Chen said seriously. Know yourself and know your enemy and you will never be defeated. The current situation is indeed a little troublesome. New Chang's eyes narrowed slightly and said, the 10 palaces are all present. I will not participate. Now that you are in the dark, although you have hidden your identities, your strength is not small. Then I will come to the surface. In the future, there will be someone to face the Mo Palace head-on. Right now the strength on the surface is too weak. We need more people to join us. Hearing this, everyone nodded lightly. New Chang was right. They could barely support the forces in the dark, but the strength to face the Mo Palace on the surface was too little. I have already sent people to send letters to Divine Machine Peak and Reverence Moon Ancient Ground. I believe there will be a reply soon. Also, Butian Pavilion has replied not long ago. They are willing to form an alliance with the underworld to fight the Mo Palace together. Ning Chen explained in detail. Butian Pavilion. They are finally afraid. Below, Luo Xingchen sneered and said, Ji Ming, you have really screwed Butian Pavilion over quite a bit this time. Fighting against the Mo Palace is the responsibility of the world. They did not listen to my kind words, so I can only use this method. Ning Chen said calmly. We need to find out the true strength of the Seven Sins sect as soon as possible. Jiming Marquis, you should have a plan in mind, right? New Chang asked. Yes. Ning Chen nodded and said, when the battle strength is gathered, we will fight against the Mo Palace head-on. Everyone, please prepare as soon as possible. These days, the Mo Palace is already reorganizing their armies. I believe that they will start another war very soon. There is not much time left for us. Understood. Everyone present nodded in unison and replied. Chapter 922. In the cold night, the sky was dotted with stars. A white-robed figure stood silently in front of the Yama Palace for an unknown period of time. The cold wind blew, and his white hair flew up. After 100 years, his hair was white. What, you still can't sleep? Niu Chang appeared behind him at some point and asked. In the decades in Chongling, she had never seen the person in front of her rest. Now it was even more so. Cultivators were different from ordinary people, but for someone like Ji Ming, who worked so hard, how strong did one's will have to be to endure it? I am thinking if there are any mistakes. The next battle is very important. There cannot be any mistakes. Ning Chen responded without turning back. Man proposes, heaven disposes. Ji Ming, your responsibility ends after you send the Nether King away. After taking off your Marquis robes, you are just one of the people in the world. There is no need to carry them on your shoulders, Niu Chang said seriously. I do not want to carry the safety of the people of the world. Ning Chen smiled and said, I am just doing my best to protect the pure land I cherish. The threat of the Mo Palace is too great. If it is allowed to develop, the consequences will be unpredictable. You always have your reasons. Niu Chang sighed softly and said, This time, I will do my best to help you. After all, I am also a member of the inner realm. I cannot put all the burden on you. Then thank you, Niu Chang. Ning Chen responded with a smile and continued. Shenji Peak and the moon-worshipping clan's reply should arrive soon. At that time, I will have to trouble Niu Chang to appear. I can appear, but the person in charge must still be you. Only you can deal with the holy priest of the Mo Palace. War is cruel and casualties are unavoidable. But we do not want to die in the enemy's schemes, Niu Chang said seriously. I understand. Ning Chen nodded and said, I will do my best. As the two spoke, a meteor streaked across the night sky with a long tail. It was so beautiful, but it disappeared in a blink. Niu Chang looked at the meteor disappearing in the sky. A moment later she sighed and said, It is late. I will return. You should rest early. After speaking, Niu Chang did not linger. She turned and walked towards a nearby side hall. Not long after Niu Chang left, a beautiful figure came from behind. She held a brocade cloak and covered the shoulders of the person in front of her. It's late. It's cold. A man's expression was focused as she tidied her cloak and said softly, I have the phoenix origin protecting me, so I'm not cold. Ning Chen turned to the side and smiled at the woman beside him. A man responded, but she still carefully tidied up the former's clothes. Wild, said Ning Chen. A man raised his head with a puzzled expression. Don't get involved in this war. Ning Chen said softly. Perhaps it was because of his own selfishness. He didn't want Wild to be drawn into any war. A bright pearl shouldn't be covered in dust, nor should it be stained with blood. I'll listen to you. Wild's expression was gentle. Oh man, I might not have time these days. I'll have to trouble you to take care of Een. Said Ning Chen apologetically. A man nodded lightly and said, I will. Don't worry. Under the night sky, the two of them stood side by side, speaking softly. It was so warm. The karma formed by fate was engraved in their hearts, and it would be difficult to separate them in this lifetime. The night was peaceful. When the sun rose, two figures walked out of the divine restriction. One was wearing a black and white cloak, while the other had a delicate appearance, but her eyes were somewhat cold. Her appearance was very different from her delicate appearance. Mu Qianshang raised his hand. The meteor shifted, and the divine restriction opened. In front of the palace, Ning Chen sensed something. He looked at the sky and narrowed his eyes. They had finally returned. The two figures descended from the sky. After a few steps, they arrived in front of the two Yama palaces. Miss Qingying, welcome to the underworld. Looking at the delicate woman beside Mu Qianshang, Ning Chen smiled and said, Marquis Jiming is too courteous. Wu Qingying bowed slightly and said, I've come under the orders of my master to help the Marquis and contribute to the safety of the world. Ning Chen nodded and said softly, Miss Qingying must be tired from the journey. Please rest first. If there's anything, we can talk about it later. After saying this, Ning Chen looked at Mu Qianshang and indicated for him to take Wu Qingying to rest. Miss Qingying, please follow me. Mu Qianshang understood and took a step forward. Many thanks. Wu Qingying replied in a soft voice before following after him. In front of King Qingguang's palace, Luo Xingqian looked at the scene in front of King Yama and said, Ji Ming, almost all of the forces that can be used in the world have been transferred here. The rest is up to you. Understood. Ningchen nodded and replied, Wu Qingying will act together with Female Supreme on the surface. Her zither is too eye-catching. It won't be easy to hide her identity. The letters sent to Divine Machine Peak and Moon-worshipping clan have not been replied yet. Are you confident? In front of King Qingguang's palace, Luo Xingqian asked. 100%. Ningchen said calmly. Are you confident? I. Before he finished speaking, Luo Xingqian's expression froze. He raised his head to look at the sky, and he saw that the divine restriction above the 10 halls started to shake again. As it rumbled, a purplish-red sword shadow descended from the sky. After it landed, it took form. Yishuan Miao waved his hand and 2 letters flew out to King Yama's palace. In front of King Yama's palace, Ningchen took the letters. After reading them, his expression turned serious. They had arrived. Everyone, you can prepare now. Ningchen waved his hand and put away the letters. Then he transmitted his voice to the various palaces. In the 10 palaces, figures opened their eyes one after another. Light flashed in their eyes. It was finally about to begin. In the All Heavens and Demon domain, the 4 protectors were ordered to return. The 7 Sins sect had appeared. The entire demon domain was surging with undercurrents. The war was about to begin. In the All Heavens star field, the demon army was unified. Demon generals oversaw the various major planets and suppressed all resistance. The demon palace's army was quickly replenished. Immortal jades, spirit stones, meteorites, all kinds of war resources were transported from all directions. In just 100 days, the strength of the demon palace's army had increased by another level. In the surroundings of the demon domain and sacred palace, the 4 protectors and 7 Sins sect returned to their positions and waited for the order. Just as the demon palace's army was gathering, the wind and clouds above the All Heavens northern army surged. Figures descended from the sky. Their terrifying auras made people tremble. The person in the lead was dressed in red. His face was covered with the evil face of the Yama King. Behind him were 4 people. The 2 Yama Kings of the underworld, Yama King, Qingguang, Emperor Song, the 3 supreme experts Butian, Qi Wenju, Right Protector Jiangyan, and Left Protector Qi Xian had joined hands to resist the demon army. Let's do it. In front of the 4, the red-clothed Yama King gave the order. Then he appeared and rushed into the army. Behind him, the 4 moved together. Majestic pressure swept out, attacking the army. In front of the army of 50,000, the 7 demon generals were momentarily shocked. However, they quickly recovered and immediately gave the order to defend to the death. The 10,000 demons formed a formation. Immediately, demonic chi filled the sky. With the 7 demon generals as the guide, the demonic chi surged and attacked the 6 experts. Kill them all. Leave no one alive. Yama King spoke. His voice was cold and emotionless. His astral soul appeared. The blood-colored divine sword that was reforged drew the starlight of the 9 heavens and slashed down. With a rumbling sound, the demonic chi surged. Behind him, Emperor Song waved his sword. Thousands of ink swords broke through the sky, supporting Yama King. Butian Qi Wenju, Right Protector Jiang Yin, Left Protector Qi Xian were not willing to be outdone. They urged their palms, and the demonic chi surged. The 5 experts joined hands. Their palms and swords moved side by side. Their ultimate martial yuan affected the wind and clouds of the world. With a rumbling sound, the wind and clouds of the 9 heavens changed. The 5 supreme experts of the current era fought the demon army head-on. Terrifying aftershocks reverberated through the universe. For the first time, I realized that my existence is so important. At this time, in the violently shaking void, Qingguang King in purple robes walked out. Looking at the stalemate in front of him, a strange expression appeared on his face. With quantity, there would be a qualitative change. First, the Buddha Mountain's 100,000 demon army resisted the heavenly Buddha Lord who burned his lifespan. Now another 50,000 demon army blocked the 5 supreme experts of the current era. It seemed that Ji Ming's purpose in bringing him here was very obvious. Ha! With a light shout, the star mark bow appeared. Falling Star urged his true yuan. The undercurrent continued to gather, and a green arrow appeared. In an instant it broke through the void. Xingqian, although a gentleman should not shoot behind his back, I think you don't care about the reputation of a gentleman. To catch bandits, first catch the king. In any war, the general is the most important existence. When the general dies, the army will be in chaos. So we have to rely on you. Before the departure, the arrow broke through the void. Before the crowd could react, they were shocked to see a waterfall of blood splattering. The arrow pierced through the chest. The sharp arrow took a life. Arg! There was a muffled groan. Among the 7 demon generals, one of the demon generals fell from the void and crashed into the ground. This was a scene that no one had expected. The 6 demon generals immediately looked back at the horizon. They saw the evil spirit in purple robes standing quietly in the void. The divine bow in his hand was condensed with 7-colored brilliance. His murderous intent was pressing. Sorry, all of you can go to hell together. As soon as he finished speaking, the star mark bow was drawn. Streaks of arrow light broke through the void at extreme speed, heading straight for the 6 demon generals. The 6 of them were startled. They immediately moved to dodge the arrows that would take their lives. You all will not live. Just as they dodged the arrows, Yama's figure arrived behind them. There was no time to set up the formation. The tip of the sword pierced through their bodies. Arg! At the same time, the sword and palm energy arrived in front of the remaining 4 demon generals. The malicious spirit took their lives and hell took their souls. With a muffled groan, the bodies of the 5 demon generals flew out at the same time. Their blood splashed like rain. The formation was broken. In front of the 5, the star soul in red robes waved again. The sword took their lives and dyed it red again. In a few breaths of time, before they could react, the 7 demon generals were all dead. In the next moment, the 5 figures swept past the 10,000 soldiers. Immediately the massacre began. Blood dyed the 9 heavens. In the demon area, in the holy palace, a figure hurriedly walked in. He immediately knelt down and said, reporting to the holy minister, news came from the front line. The underworld and heaven-mending pavilion joined hands to launch a sneak attack on our northern army. Now 7 demon generals have died in battle. The northern army also suffered heavy casualties. Holy minister, please make a decision. Oh. In the palace, Jie Tian's face revealed a strange expression. Heaven-mending pavilion actually had such guts. He really had a whole new level of respect for them. Summon Wind Trust Sect, Cloud Sky Sect, Fierce Flame Sect, and Sea Sky Sect to come and see me, Jie Tian said. Yes. Below, the demon guards received the order and quickly retreated. Chapter 923. The flames of war raged in the north. The king of hell received his orders, and the demon army's array formation was broken. They were in imminent danger. In the demon territory, 4 people from the 7 Sins sect appeared in the sacred hall. Feng, Yun, Lai, and Hai, the 4 supreme cultivators who had surpassed the peak of the human world, showed their skills again. The netherworld and Butian Pavilion have already provoked us. The demon palace cannot not respond. Go ahead. In the sacred hall, Jie Tian looked at the 4 elders in ancient robes and said, yes. The 4 of them accepted the order, and turned to walk out of the hall without saying anything else. When the 4 of them left the demon territory, Jun Wentian, who was wearing the water cloud battle armor, opened his eyes and looked in the direction the 4 of them left. He had a strange expression. This time, the saint did not send the 4 of them, but chose the 7 Sins sect. It seemed that the saint was still unhappy with him after the battle on Buddha Mountain. Outside the demon territory, the Wind Trust sect, Yinshao sect, Fiery Flame sect, and Sea Sky sect flashed past and headed north at a shocking speed. They're here. In the north of the demon territory, on the path to the northern battlefield, figures walked out one after another to intercept them. Seeing the situation, the 4 of them stopped and looked at the 5 people blocking their way with solemn expressions. Seniors, Miss Qingying, be careful. These 4 people are not easy to deal with. Ning Chun, who was dressed in white, reminded the 5 of them. If they were easy to deal with, you wouldn't have asked us. Shinji took half a step forward and looked at the 4 Seven Sins sect cultivators in front of him. 5 against 4. If we lose again, we won't have the face to see anyone. Baiyu the Venerable said calmly. He took in the essence energy with a flip of his palm, and the essence energy in his body rose continuously. Jiming, are you talking about them? Nu Chang glanced at the 4 people in front of her and asked softly. Yes. Ning Chen nodded and said seriously. They are very powerful. Nu Chang, don't be careless. I understand. Nu Chang nodded lightly and looked at the girl beside her. Qingying, stay outside and help. Your master is not around. As your senior, I can't let you be in danger. I'll follow Nu Chang's arrangements. Wu Qingying replied softly and respectfully. Surprise flashed through the eyes of Shinji and Baiyu at the side. Looks like this female exalt's identity is extraordinary. Even Mo Gate's 9th disciple, and Miss Qingying, who possesses an extraordinary cultivation, treat her with respect. Why have I never heard of such an expert? Seniors, this junior will first embarrass himself. With that, Ning Chen clenched his right hand, and Taisher's blade appeared. In an instant, the battle began. With a thump, the tip of the sword shook the waves. Within the 4 Sins sect, Ocean Sky Master flipped his palm to block Taisher's sword. His body surged with massive waves, his momentum astonishing. Baingwe, you can't lose face in front of this junior. Let's do it. Shinji said plainly as he took a step forward. Purple chi surged as he appeared before another Devil Palace sinner in an instant. He struck with his palm and the purple chi spread for thousands of miles. Zhongyan narrowed his eyes and turned his palm into a fist, punching out to block the powerful palm strike. 2 powerful individuals crossed swords, causing the earth to shatter and the sky to shake. Raging flames burned, and purple energy came from the east. The battle had just begun, and it was already white-hot. When the battle started, Baiwa also stepped forward and blocked Feng Xinzong. Moonlight rose from his body, dazzling and eye-catching. It seems that my opponent is you. The 3 of them had already chosen their opponents, and Nu Chang looked at the only remaining person in front of her. Indeed. Yun Xiaozong nodded and said plainly, your friends are very unlucky, but you have the worst luck. Oh. Nu Chang had a strange expression. So you're saying that you're the most powerful one among them? I don't deny it. Yin Xiaozong replied coldly. He raised his right hand, and the wind and clouds in the 9 heavens changed instantly. Black demonic clouds pressed down. And the power of one person was like an army of 10,000. The scene was shocking. I haven't fought for 100 years, and the first time I fight, I meet such an opponent. It seems that my luck is really ordinary. Nu Chang sighed softly. She took a step forward, and her figure disappeared instantly. In the blink of an eye, the force of the palm was already there. The seemingly frail body seemed to have the power to fight the heavens when she attacked. Heaven and earth within 100 miles could not bear this terrifying force and shook violently. Yin Xiaozong's eyes focused, and he raised his palm to block the attack. As the heavy palms collided, a terrifying sound of a collision was heard. Violent winds and waves swept, and the demonic clouds in the sky collapsed continuously. They could not resist the power to fight the heavens. In the battle, Yin Xiaozong's expression darkened, and his left hand formed wind and clouds again as he slapped out. Nu Chang did not dodge the palm and clenched her fist, punching it out. With a loud boom, the space between the 2 of them collapsed. Their fists and palms collided in close proximity, and every move was ruthless and fierce. Danger was everywhere. The collision of 10 moves was shocking, and the contempt in Yin Xiaozong's eyes disappeared completely. He gathered all his strength with every move he made. In the battle not far away, shock flashed across Shinji's and Baiyu's eyes. This girl was extraordinary. Her foundation, power, and control of laws were all top experts. Where did Mo clan's 9th disciple find such a powerful figure? Outside the battle, Wu Qingying looked at the battle in all 4 directions with a serious expression. She waved her hand, and the sixth sin's zither appeared. Red light circulated around the huge zither, and a murderous aura surged, causing one's heart to palpitate. Six sin's forbidden world, evil spirits open the door. With a soft chant, Wu Qingying plucked the zither strings with both hands. Instantly, the zither's murderous aura surged, and a destructive sound of the zither reverberated in the air. It was a shocking scene. The red zither waves seemed to condense into a substance, and a torrent swept out, turning into the shadows of evil spirits that attacked the battle in all four directions. In the battle, the Four Sins sect master's expression turned cold at the same time. With a flip of his palm, he struck back forcefully. With a loud boom, wind, fire, clouds, and sea dispersed the zither waves, and the remaining force continued to sweep forward. On the opposite side of Yin Xiaozong, Nu Chang frowned slightly. With a flip of her palm, she shook off the battle. Subsequently, her figure flashed past and blocked the four-palm forces. Her primordial qi activated and blocked the murderous intent head-on. With a bang sound, the four powerful palm strikes landed on her body. Nu Chang retreated half a step and blocked the four palm strikes. You still have the time to worry about others when fighting with me. Should I praise your confidence? Yin Xiaozong looked at the girl in front of him, and said coldly, Qingying, be careful. Nu Chang reminded softly and shifted her gaze back to her opponent. I was rude just now. Let's do it again. As you wish. Yin Xiaozong replied. His figure flashed past, and the clouds surged. The murderous palm arrived again. Nu Chang's eyes narrowed, and a dim light rose from her body. It was extremely strange. The light in the world dissipated continuously, and it could not escape the power of the heaven-devouring force. The 9 underworlds' heaven-devouring force reappeared in the world amidst everyone's shock. With a boom, the clouds and waves dissipated completely. Before they could react, the heavy palm landed on them. In an instant, blood splattered and dyed the void red. It was an unbelievable scene. Regardless of friend or foe, everyone in the battle was shocked. Just now, it was indeed the aura of the 9 underworlds' heaven-devouring demon scripture. But how could it be? Puff! In the void, Yin Xiaozong vomited another mouthful of blood. The primordial qi in his body dissipated continuously, and he could not bear the power of the 9 underworlds. On the other side of the battle, Ning Chen's heart was similarly unconcealable when he saw this scene. He knew that the ancient land of Chongling had many secrets, but he never thought that Nu Chang also cultivated the 9 underworlds' heaven-devouring demon scripture. Chapter 924. North of the Demon Territory, on the road leading to the northern battlefield, Xi Ming's group blocked the way. The Four Sins sect was obstructed, and the flames of war burned fiercely. Flames spread in all 4 directions, and the 9 underworlds swallowed the heavens once again, shocking everyone present. A palm that could not react in time landed on Yin Xiaozong's chest. The power of the 9 underworlds entered his body and severely injured him. Ugh! Blood flowed from the corner of Yin Xiaozong's mouth and dyed his clothes red. It was an unexpected ending. The Chongling female supreme's palm shocked the world, and severely injured the leader of the Four Sins sect. Yin Xiao. On the other side of the battlefield, Feng Xinzong returned to his senses and used his qi to move the wind. He shook off Bai Yu the Venerable in front of him, and his figure flashed quickly to the battlefield in front of him. Primordial essence entered and suppressed his injuries. Feng Xinzong supported Yin Xiaozong, whose qi was leaking out continuously, and could not hide the shock and anger on his face. Retreat quickly. Yin Xiaozong said weakly and fainted right away. Blazing flame, sea sky, retreat. Feng Xinzong's expression turned serious as he shouted. In the other 2 battlefields, Blazing Flame sect and Sea Sky sect heard the reminder, and made a prompt decision to retreat rapidly. You want to leave? How can it be so easy? Ning Chen had the upper hand in the battle, and would not allow a future threat to escape easily. He flipped his left hand, and the immortal trapping blade appeared. He stabbed his sword into the ground, and red light shot into the sky. Sword aura blocked the way. Feng Xinzong, Blazing Flame sect, and Sea Sky sect's expressions darkened. They flipped their palms and spat out primordial essence. Wild winds and raging waves swept and dispersed the sword light, blocking their way. However, the momentary block was enough. Behind them, a white-clothed figure flashed past and blocked the front. Taisher condensed a sky full of frost and sealed the sky with a sword. The wind and clouds rose, and the sky and earth shook. The unexpected advantage could not be wasted. Jiming no longer hid his moves and activated his peerless foundation. He blocked the three of them alone. Behind them, Shenji and Baiyu the Venerable understood tacitly. Their figures flashed and blocked the three of them. Outside the battlefield, Wu Qingying shouted softly and plucked the 6 Yi zither. Immediately, a red fiendish aura spread, and evil ghosts filled the air, sealing 100 miles. At the side, Wu looked at the 3 Sins sect in the battle, and did not say anything. She controlled her qi in her palm, and a dim light rose from her body. Be careful. The Feng Xinzong glanced at him from the corner of his eye, and reminded him with a serious expression. The Scorching Flame sect and the Sea Sky sect heard the warning, and immediately dodged. The 9 nether qi passed by them, and the void collapsed. It was 4 against 3, and the tide of the battle had turned in an instant. Shinji and Baiyu's figures flashed past, their palm energies boundless as they worked together with the other 2 to encircle and kill the 3 Sins sect. The focal point of the battle was the 9 underworlds devouring the heavens, shocking the world. Nu Chang's body was surrounded by a dim light, and wherever her palm passed, time and space did not exist, swallowing everything. As soon as the number 1 demonic technique of the past and present appeared in the world, it displayed heaven-shaking and earth-shaking divine might. With Yinshao sect's heavy injuries at the front, the 3 Sins sect was exceptionally cautious and did not want to clash head-on. Raging waves engulfed the area, and wild mist howled as they protected their surroundings. Sword art, heavenly sword. The 3 sects were defending with their lives, and the situation was difficult to break. Seeing this, Ningchen pointed his finger at the sword. In an instant, the wind and snow in the sky drifted and gathered, forming a 100-meter-long heavenly sword. Seeing this, the fierce flame sect bellowed. Flames rose from his body, and a heat wave shot into the sky, blocking the heavenly sword. Ice and fire intertwined, and a mist rose. The 2 powerful figures clashed, and it was hard to tell who had the upper hand. Spring and autumn sword, all things enlightened. Seeing that the battle was in a stalemate, Shinji did not hold back anymore. His finger formed a sword, and in a shocking scene, a sword appeared in the sky and broke through the sky. The 2 swords moved side by side with unparalleled power. The flames in the sky collapsed, and the sword light penetrated the body. There was a muffled groan and blood splattered. The fierce flame sect retreated a few steps, and a smear of red seeped out of the corner of his mouth. He was severely injured. Long Wind controlling qi. Seeing that the situation was unfavorable, the Wind Trust sect immediately activated his cultivation. Wild winds roared, destroying everything as he tried to open up a path of survival. Rain torrential. Not far away, the Sea Sky sect also activated his vital essence and gathered it into his body, breaking through the sky and stepping on the sea. The 2 worked together to open up a path of survival, but in front of them, the Chongling female supreme blocked their path. She used long wind controlling qi, and a dim light shone brightly. The 9 underworlds devouring the heavens blocked the joint attack of the 2 powerful figures. Behind him, Bai Yi's figure flashed past, and the palm essence poured in to help the female supreme. With a loud boom, the wind stopped and the rain stopped. There was no time to breathe. Bai Yu's figure and Shenji flashed past, and the palm essence landed on the chests of the 2 sections. With a muffled groan, the 2 sects flew 100 feet away, and the corners of their mouths were stained with blood. Sword technique, burial. Before the 2 of them could stabilize themselves, Bai Yi flashed past, and her killing intent did not leave any gap. The Taisher sword shone with a green light, and every move was ruthless and merciless. Being injured first, the Wind Trust sect and the Sea Sky sect reacted hastily, and the sword was dyed red again. Outside the battle, Shinji and Baiyu arrived at the same time. They worked together to kill the 2 sections. The dangerous situation was completely unexpected. The 2 sects retreated again and again, and danger surrounded them. Not far away, the female supreme faced the severely injured Fierce Flame sect. Outside the battle, the Six Sins helped, and the red waves of the zither continuously eroded the cultivator's consciousness. Yunxiao sect, the strongest of the Four Sins sect, was severely injured due to carelessness, and the other three sects were suppressed and were on the verge of death. In the battle, the Knowing Destiny sect's swordsmanship was fully displayed, and they were determined to kill the four sects here. Suddenly, a painful groan sounded again. The Fierce Flame sect's chest was hit by a slender hand, and the power of the 9 underworlds penetrated his body, bringing out a brilliant waterfall of blood. The Sea Sky sect was already injured, and his soul was disturbed by the zither music. Looking at the blood flowing out of his chest, he suddenly laughed maniacally. "You guys leave quickly." After making up his mind, the Fierce Flame sect no longer hesitated. He glanced at the two people not far away, and with a palm he shattered his energy sea. In an instant the heavens and earth changed drastically, and thunder rumbled from the 9 heavens. The half-step fourth realm elite cultivator released his terrifying true chi rapidly, and the shocking power shook the heavens and earth for thousands of miles. Oh no! In the battle not far away, Ning Chen's expression changed. He stepped forward, wanting to stop the Fierce Flame sect's move. Resonance of heaven and earth, life and death defying fate. Before the battle could change, ice and snow gathered in Ning Chen's hands and condensed into a blade. In the next moment, the two weapons flew out and attacked the Fierce Flame sect. The two weapons broke through the flames and blood splattered. However, the Fierce Flame sect did not dodge or retreat. His primordial chi was activated again, and his life force was completely burned. His cultivation technique reached the peak again. Just as everyone's attention shifted to the other side of the battle, the Sea Sky sect and the Wind Trust sect did not dare to hesitate any longer. They flipped their palms and pushed their opponents away, carrying the heavily injured Yunxiao sect, and wanting to leave the battle far away. "You guys can't leave." Ning Chen's figure flashed past. He activated the energy in his palm, and snow waves surged, trapping the two sections. Wind Trust sect, bring Yunxiao sect away. The road ahead was blocked, and there was no time to hesitate. The Sea Sky sect made a prompt decision and stayed behind to cover the retreat. He rose and blocked the snow waves. With a loud boom, the clouds broke through the sky. As the two moves collided, the snow waves froze and spread continuously. Sea Sky, Fierce Flame, The Wind Trust sect felt a pain in his heart when he saw the two sects who were determined to die. He carried the heavily injured and unconscious Yunxiao sect and left quickly. In the battle, Ning Chen's eyes turned cold as he looked at the two people who were fighting for their lives. He said in a low voice, "Since they have escaped, leave your lives behind first." With that, Taisher flew back. Ning Chen held his sword and activated all his skills. Murderous intent lingered in his eyes. In the blink of an eye, the white-robed figure flashed past. The tip of the sword passed through the gap and took their lives mercilessly. At the same time, in the north of the various heavens, the red-clothed king of hell led an army of 10,000 soldiers. As he waved his sword, blood flowed like a waterfall and dyed the 9 heavens red. It was a naked massacre. The 3 kings of hell, and the 3 powerful figures who nourished the heavens worked together to kill 10,000 demons. From dawn to sunset, and then to the middle of the moon, the massacre did not stop. Fresh blood had already dyed the entire sky red, shocking everyone. Unknowingly, the 3 powerful figures from the heaven-mending sect had gradually stopped. Looking at the bloodthirsty scene, the waves in their hearts could not be concealed. Among the 10,000 soldiers, the 2 kings of hell also gradually slowed down. They had killed too many, and their hands were weak. However, at the front line of the 10,000 soldiers, the red-clothed and blood-haired king of hell held a blood-colored divine sword in his hand. The sharpness of his sword did not stop. His body was bathed in blood, and he was like an evil spirit that walked out of hell. It was terrifying. Qi Wenju, Jiang Yun, and Qi Hua looked at each other. A hint of fear flashed through their eyes. This king of hell was truly too ruthless and merciless. After killing so many, even they felt that it was a bit unbearable. However, the king of hell was indifferent. It was as if he wanted to kill all 50,000 demons. A cold wind blew past, and the bloody sand was swept up. On the eastern horizon, a ray of white appeared. After 1 day and 1 night, the massacre finally gradually stopped. With the last sword, dozens of severed limbs flew up. Blood fell like rain, contrasting with the edge of the astral soul, making it even redder. After 1 day and 1 night, the 50,000 soldiers were completely slaughtered. Not a single one was left alive. The king of hell withdrew his sword, and the bloody aura around his body dissipated. He turned around and walked towards the 3 people. He calmly said, "Thank you for your help. King of hell is too polite. Since this matter is over, we will take our leave first." Qi Wenju looked at the red-clothed king of hell, and said. Then she cupped her fist and said goodbye. "We will meet again someday." The red-clothed king of hell nodded and replied. The 3 of them nodded and did not stand on ceremony. Their figures flashed and left the battlefield. After the 3 of them left, 2 figures swept across the void. They looked at the people in front of them and said, "Ji Ming, something is wrong." The phoenix body nodded and said, "The reinforcements have not arrived. It is indeed strange. Could it be that the demon palace's saint has not received the news here?" Under the evil mask, Luo Xingqian was puzzled. "Impossible." The phoenix body shook his head and said, "With the wisdom of the demon palace's saint, how could he make such a mistake? The reinforcements must have arrived. I just don't know why they have not arrived yet. Perhaps Female Supreme and Shinji have blocked them, and the demon palace's reinforcements are unable to come," Mu Qianshang said. "The plan we made earlier was a strategy. Female Supreme and Shinji only needed to delay them for a while and figure out the Seven Sins sect's strength. Logically speaking, the members of the Seven Sins sect shouldn't still be here by now," the phoenix body said solemnly. "No matter what, the current situation is already the best result. If there is anything, we will know once we go back and ask." Mu Qianshang said softly. The phoenix body nodded and replied, "Let's go back." With that, the phoenix body moved, and a red light flashed past, flying towards the horizon. Mu Qianshang and Luo Xingqian followed and turned into flowing light, disappearing into the dawn. In the north of the demon domain, Taisher cut through the void. Blood spurted out, and 2 heads flew. The sea and sky were burning, and the Sin sect was dead. The sword tip returned to its scabbard, and the sharpness retracted. Ningchen looked at the people behind him and said calmly, 3 seniors, Miss Qingying, thank you. Chapter 925. At the intersection of the 3 regions, the divine restrictions sealed the space. On the vast continent, the 10 halls stood majestically. In front of King Yama Hall, figures flashed. They waved their hands to disperse the evil face masks on their faces and walked into the hall. Masks appeared one after another on the conference table, and the 10 kings of hell returned to their respective seats. Female Changjing sat on the first seat. No one had any objections to this seat that did not belong to the 10 Yama kings. The 2 returned to their seats. The battle situation in the north of the Mo lands was clear. Ningchen looked at the woman in front of him. He did not speak and bowed respectfully. Female Chang laughed softly and said, "Knowing destiny, Marquis, there is no need to say thank you. There is no need to call me elder. It is inauspicious." Hearing this, everyone smiled knowingly. Even King Qi, who did not come from the divine lands, understood the reason now. A knowing destiny Marquis elder was not so easy to respond to. If one's life was not tough enough, it was better to stay away. Ningchen smiled helplessly. He knew that he had a bad reputation, so he did not try to be pretentious. He sat down, looked at the crowd and said, "Everyone, this unexpected victory is all thanks to the female supreme. Being able to get rid of 2 people from the Seven Sins sect will benefit us greatly in the future." The Yama kings looked at the Chongling female supreme and nodded in thanks. They knew how important this victory was. Ever since the Mo Palace appeared, they had fought with the 4 protectors of the Mo Palace many times. Each time, they could not gain an advantage. The 4 protectors of the Mo Palace were already a headache. much less the Seven Sins sect who were stronger than the Four Protectors. Female Supreme, there is something I do not know if I can ask? Below, Mu Qianshang glanced at the knowing destiny Marquis, and then looked at the female Supreme in front of him. Speak freely, female Chang said softly. Mu Qianshang's expression grew serious. He said, what I want to ask is, why does female Supreme cultivate the 9 hell heaven devouring demon scripture? Everyone should know the origins of the inner realm. Nu Chang didn't hide anything and calmly said, the inner realm is a world created by the Nether King using the many life planets in outer heaven as the foundation. Therefore there are many things that outer heaven has and the inner realm has, such as Buddhism, Taoism and Devil. She looked at knowing destiny and continued, the divine land used to belong to Haotian Taoism. I don't need to say more. You should know that. The headmaster of the academy created the Confucian sect after the fall of Haotian Taoism. It was an exception. The homeland of the West Buddha was the land of inheritance of the Buddha and the Devil. Ningchen had heard this before, and a strange look flashed through his eyes. He said, female supreme means that Changling's predecessor was the demonic sect? Nu Chang nodded and said with a smile, now you know why the ancient lands of Changling are called the forbidden lands of the Western Buddhas. While Changling has chosen to hide from the world for thousands of years, and few people know of this history, the past Buddhas of Tianfu Mountain, Bodhi Valley, and West Jade Mountain are still wary of Changling coming out and causing trouble in the world. Hearing this, Ningchen sighed softly and said, 30 years in Changling, I didn't see that Changling inherited the demonic sect. I am so stupid. Nu Chang laughed softly and said, you have been in Changling for 30 years, cultivating the life scroll day and night. How could you see this? All right, do you have anything else to ask? Yes. Mu Qianshang's expression turned serious and he said, I want to know if there is a way to resolve the 9 hell heaven devouring demon scripture. At the words, everyone was shocked and looked at the former. It was too impolite to ask such a question in front of Nu Chang. Everyone's method was a secret among secrets. How could one ask for a flaw in front of her? Good friend you. Ningchen saw what the former was thinking, and was about to speak when he was interrupted. Knowing destiny, do not interrupt. Mu Qianshang looked with burning eyes at the master of Changling and said, Nu Chang, I know it is impolite to ask this, but Nu Chang, please tell me the way to resolve it. Nu Chang looked playfully between the two. A long time later she smiled and said, knowing destiny, this noble one is really curious. Your friends, other than being tricked by you, they were pulled in by your flowery words. Why would they help you so much? Ningchen was silent and did not answer. Nu Chang smiled faintly and stopped joking. She looked at her good friend knowing destiny and said calmly, I know you want to know how to save Hua Zhongdia. However, this noble one can tell you very seriously that there is no way to resolve the 9 hell heaven devouring demon scripture that Hua Zhongdia cultivates. When she said this, Ningchen's body unconsciously trembled and tiredness flashed through his eyes. Forget it. Why not? There is no perfect method in the world. The 9 hell heaven devouring demon scripture should not be an exception. Mu Qianshang looked at Nu Chang and said gravely, Nu Chang also cultivates this method. Why can you maintain your rationality and not be affected? Or does Nu Chang have something? Qianshang, enough. At the head of the table, Ningchen interrupted the former and sighed. There's no need to ask anymore. Let him ask. If he does not ask, he will not rest. Nu Chang did not care and said with a smile. Mu Qianshang's gaze grew colder. He said, forgive this one for being rude. Nu Chang, please enlighten me. Where did Hua Zhongdia's method come from? Why can Nu Chang maintain her rationality and Hua Zhongdia cannot? Are you suspecting that Hua Zhongdia's method comes from Changling? Nu Chang's smile faded. She said, you do not have to worry about this. My Changling is not a place that others can enter as they wish. Hua Zhongdia has never come to Changling. Her method was not taught by me. As to where she obtained this method, you have to ask her. As to why this noble one can maintain her rationality and Hua Zhongdia cannot. At this point, Nu Chang's lips curved slightly. She said, I think that with your knowing destiny Marquis intelligence, he has already guessed the reason. Hearing this, everyone turned to look at the knowing destiny state. What was the reason? They couldn't figure it out. Knowing destiny. Mu Qiansheng looked at his good friend and said gravely, "What is going on?" "Forget it, let this noble one speak." Not willing to push too much, Nu Chang said, "I can control this palace because other than the 9 hell heaven-devouring demon scripture, I also cultivate the soul-searching art. The greatest drawback of the 9 hell heaven-devouring demon scripture is that when it devours other people's essences, it will also devour their memory fragments, causing their memories to become chaotic and go crazy." At this point, Nu Chang looked at everyone and continued, "In the beginning, I did not know how to resolve this drawback. Later, in order to obtain the cultivation method of the life scroll, I tried to cultivate the soul-searching art. But at that time, knowing destiny's 3 souls were not complete, and the soul-searching art could not gain anything. So when I was saving knowing destiny, I had to read the soul-searching art again, and again to find a way. In the end, I accidentally found that some of the soul-searching art's functions could resolve this drawback of the 9 hell heaven-devouring demon scripture." Hearing this, everyone's expression turned serious, and they understood a little in their hearts. Looking at the inquisitive eyes of the people in front, Nu Chang nodded and said, "You guessed right. The soul-searching art can search other people's souls to obtain their memories, but it can also dissipate these memories. I used this method to overcome the biggest drawback of cultivating the 9 hell heaven-devouring demon scripture." But, hearing that, the woman's face darkened and she said, "I just said that there is no way to crack the 9 serenities sky-devouring demon scripture that Hua Zhongdia has cultivated. That's because her memory has been messed up. Even her original memory may not exist. Now Hua Zhongdia is just a cold-killing weapon in the hands of the Devil Palace." Chapter 926. In the demon region, in the sacred palace, many figures stood quietly. In the middle, a person bowed his head and knelt down to accept his punishment. No one in the entire sacred palace dared to say a word. The atmosphere was so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. In front of the crowd, Jie Tiance looked coldly at the people kneeling in front of him and said, "I sent out 4 of you at once, and you still lost so miserably. You've really impressed me. Saint Censor, please forgive me." Feng Xinzong lowered his head and said in a low voice. Jie Tiance turned around and walked up the steps of the palace. He said calmly, "I'll give you a chance to explain. Speak." Reporting to the holy minister, among the 4 people who came with the 9th disciple of Ma's sect, other than Shinji and Baiyue, there were 2 other women. One of them suddenly used the 9 serenities heaven-devouring demon scripture during the battle. We did not expect it, and by the time we reacted, Yin Xiao was already heavily injured. Feng Xinzong reported truthfully. On the steps, Jie Tiance paused and turned around. Looking at the people below, he frowned slightly. "You're saying that among the people brought by Mo Gate's 9th son, there's someone who also cultivates the 9 hell heaven-devouring demon scripture?" "That is indeed the case. I dare not deceive you, Lord Saint," Feng Xinzong said respectfully. Jie Tiance thought for a moment and said, "Get up and reply." "Thank you, Saint Priest." Feng Xinzong bowed respectfully and stood up. "Explain the situation in detail," Jie Tiance said calmly. "Yes." Feng Xinzong nodded and recounted the events of the previous battle in detail. In the large hall, a strange expression flashed across the eyes of the 3 protectors of the 7 Sins sect and the Devil Palace as they listened to the former's explanation. Other than the butterfly and the flower, there was someone else in the world who had cultivated the 9 serenities heaven-devouring demon scripture. Moreover, his martial arts attainment was not below theirs. "What do you think?" Jie Tiance said as he looked at the 3 old men in ancient and peculiar clothes on the right side of the hall. No wonder Feng Xian, Yin Xiao and the others. The 9 underworlds heaven-devouring demon scripture is the #1 devil technique in the world. Even if we were to encounter it without any preparation, we would still suffer quite a bit, let alone the 4 of them. One of the 3 old men spoke. Jie Tiance nodded and said, "Since the Moon Illumination sect has interceded for both of you, I won't pursue this matter any further. You may go and heal your injuries first. Thank you, Saint Priest. Feng Xinzong bowed respectfully once more, then turned around and left the hall. Saint Priest. The Moonweaver maiden took a step forward and said respectfully, this time the underworld, heaven-mending pavilion, and Mahasek's ninth son came prepared, causing our devil palace to suffer great losses. We definitely cannot let this matter rest. Otherwise, the world's respect for the devil palace will be greatly reduced, and our losses will not be limited to the 50,000 devil army and the 2 sinful sects. The Moonweaver maiden's words are correct. Holy Priest, we ask for your orders. We will lead the army to continue the northern expedition and enter the Red Luan. We will wipe out heaven-mending pavilion and wipe out our previous humiliation. Bai Wangren walked up and asked for orders. That's inappropriate. In the Three Sins sect, the Moon Illumination sect's sect master said, the northern army has just suffered heavy losses. If we want to invade the north now, we'll have to mobilize troops from other places. This way, it'll take a lot of time and effort. We don't have to choose the heaven-mending pavilion if we want to establish our might. The Divine Strategy Peak and the Moon Reverence Clan are participating as well. It's the same if we choose them. There's only one divine strategy on the Divine Strategy Peak. Apart from the Moon Reverence Clan, there's nothing to be afraid of. It'll be as easy as lifting a finger to annihilate them. Although it'll take some time and effort to mobilize troops from other places, it's nothing compared to the benefits we'll gain from annihilating the heaven-mending pavilion. The Moon Illumination sect's sect master frowned slightly and said, the heaven-mending pavilion is one of the 11 great inheritances. Even if it's not as good as the Buddhist sect, it's not too far off. Our devil palace has just gone through a great battle. It's not good for us to pick another ancient inheritance. Looks like the Moon Illumination sect's sect master has been in closed-door cultivation for too long. He doesn't know what's going on outside. A hint of mockery flashed across Bai Wangran's face as he said, the heaven-mending pavilion was heavily injured by Mo sect's 9th disciple and the Dawn Moon Pavilion's master not long ago. Their strength has been greatly reduced. It'll be as easy as blowing off dust for the devil palace to take them down. If we don't mobilize troops now, when are we going to wait? Are we going to wait until the heaven-mending pavilion recovers? The Moon Illumination sect's sect master's face gradually darkened when he heard Bai Wangran's words. This Wind Faith sect's disciple was getting more and more presumptuous. He used to be respectful to them, but now he dared to speak rudely to them. There's no need to argue. Jie Tiance spoke and stopped the two of them from arguing. He looked at the silhouette in the water cloud battlesuit who had not spoken since the beginning and said, Jun Wentian, since your injuries have healed, you'll command the Northern Army again. Once the army is assembled, we'll immediately send troops to the Red Phoenix Star Zone. The moment his words left his mouth, everyone present fell silent. A faint smile appeared on the corner of Bai Wangran's mouth. It seemed like the Saint Arbiter was very dissatisfied with the Seven Sins sect after this great defeat. His attitude was also very different from before. In the hall, Jun Wentian took half a step forward and accepted the order calmly. Yes. Just when the Devil Palace decided to send troops to the Red Phoenix Star Zone, maple leaves fluttered on the Divine Strategy Peak, that was a region away. It was autumn, and the red maple leaves covered the sky. On the peak, two people sat facing each other and silently played chess. It was a game of life and death, and danger was everywhere. The black chess pieces and the white chess pieces had different styles. One attacked like a storm while the other defended like a watertight wall. In just a short 2 hours, the game had reached its climax. When the final piece was placed, the game was decided. The black chess piece in Shinji's hand fell. He looked at the young man in plain clothes and said calmly, "You've lost." Ningchen looked at the chess game. After a long time, he put down the chess piece in his hand and sighed softly. Senior Shinji's chess skills are inferior. Shinji stood up and looked at the red maple leaves on the peak. He said indifferently, "It's not that your chess skills are inferior to mine, but if you don't attack, you can't win. What are you here for? Speak frankly." Ningchen stood up and looked at the man in front of him. He said seriously, "Senior Shinji, I want to enter the Reverence Moon ancient land. I hope Senior can help me. Shinji turned around and frowned. You want to borrow troops from the Reverence Moon clan? Ningchen nodded and said, the Devil Palace's next move will be clear soon. Although we have the help of the Netherworld Palace and the Heaven Mending Pavilion, there is still a big gap between our strength and the Devil Palace. The Reverence Moon clan has fought with the Devil Palace many times. They have a better understanding of their opponent than us. If they can help us, it will be beneficial for us in this war. I advise you to give up. The Reverence Moon clan has been guarding the Reverence Moon ancient land for generations. They won't leave no matter what. Shinji said calmly. Ningchen heard this and frowned. Why? Do we have to wait for the Devil Palace's troops to arrive and wait for death? I don't know why the Reverence Moon clan won't leave the Reverence Moon ancient land, but this is a fact that no one can change. Shinji said indifferently. Junior still wants to give it a try. I hope Senior Shinji can help me. Ningchen bowed respectfully and said. Shinji's eyes narrowed as he looked at the person in front of him. A moment later, he flipped his right hand and a purple jade pendant in the shape of a dragon flew into Ningchen's hand. Give it to the Reverence Moon clan. She will understand that this is all I can do for you. As for whether you can succeed or not, it will depend on your luck. Shinji said calmly. Many thanks, Senior Shinji. Ningchen bowed respectfully again. Half an hour later, Jiming left on the Shenji Peak. Under the red maple leaves, Shinji's gaze was fixed on the space in front of him. Perhaps he was wrong in the past. In the northwest of the All Heavens, and the southeast of Luojia, there was an ancient secret land where the two regions met. Today Jiming had made an appearance, visiting the Reverence Moon clan's holy ground for the first time. Inside the holy ground, tens of thousands of Reverence Moon clan's members knelt before the altar, praying day after day for the Moon God's protection. On the altar, Reverence Moon Venerable, who was enshrouded in pure moonlight, knelt before the Moon God's stone statue, praying with his eyes closed. Right at this time, outside the Reverence Moon holy ground, a figure in plain clothes descended from the sky. A powerful pressure swept out, startling everyone. Who is it? Inside the holy ground, several Reverence Moon clan's experts appeared out of thin air, blocking the path. Mo Gate's Ninth Peak's master Ningchen requests an audience with Reverence Moon Venerable. Ningchen spoke, neither servile nor overbearing. Mo Gate's ninth disciple? The Reverence Moon clan's experts' faces stiffened hearing Ningchen's words. One of them, a white-robed young man, spoke. Wait a moment. The white-robed young man turned around and flew towards the altar in the distance. Ningchen stood outside the holy ground, waiting patiently without any thoughts. 15 minutes later, the white-robed young man returned. He saluted respectfully and said politely, "Honored guest, please follow me." Ningchen nodded and followed behind the white-robed young man. On the Reverence Moon Holy Ground's altar, the white-robed young man brought Ningchen over. He saluted the high priest on the altar, then retreated. On the altar, Reverence Moon stood up and looked at the people below. He asked calmly, "What is Mr. Ning here for?" Ningchen saluted respectfully. His gaze fell on the woman on the altar, and a light flickered in his eyes. This Reverence Moon clan's high priest and the Reverence Moon Venerable he had met before were not the same person. How could there be such a strange thing in this world? Senior Reverence Moon, Junior is here to discuss something with you. Unable to figure it out for the time being, Ningchen suppressed the waves in his heart. With a flip of his right hand, a dragon-shaped jade pendant appeared and flew towards the altar. On the altar, Reverence Moon caught the jade pendant, and his face stiffened. Shinji had given this jade pendant to him. Speak, what is it? Reverence Moon retracted his gaze and asked calmly. The Devil Palace is about to send out their troops, and their next target is likely to be the Hongwuan Star Field. If Hongwuan is lost, the Reverence Moon Holy Ground will be exposed to the Devil Palace's forces. Therefore, Junior is here to ask the Reverence Moon clan to send out their troops to resist the Devil Palace. Ningchen calmly explained the pros and cons below the altar. The faces of the Reverence Moon clan's experts turned ugly when they heard Reverence Moon clan's words. Before you came, Shinji should have told you that my Reverence Moon Clan's people will never leave the holy ground. Reverence Moon Clan's high priest said indifferently after hearing Ning Chen's words. Based on the grudge between the Reverence Moon Clan and the Moon Devil Clan, the Devil Palace won't sit idly by. Once the Hongwon Star Field falls, the Moon Devil Clan will definitely borrow the Devil Palace's strength to make a comeback. At that time, no matter what the Reverence Moon Clan wants to protect, or if there's some hidden trouble, it will be too late. Ning Chen said seriously. Young man, we appreciate your kindness, but, below the altar, a white-haired old woman holding a walking stick walked up to Ning Chen and said in a hoarse voice, the Moon God has decreed that our Reverence Moon Clan's people must never leave the holy ground. This is a divine decree, and we cannot go against it. Chapter 927. In front of the Reverence Moon Holy Ground's altar, Ji Ming had summoned his troops, but no one dared to disobey the divine decree. Moon God's decree? Ning Chen's expression froze hearing this. God's decree? Could it be that the Reverence Moon Clan's God really exists? The existence of God was already unimaginable, and the Nether King had already overturned his understanding. He had no choice but to accept the fact. Now hearing the name of God stirred up waves in his heart. On the altar, Bai Yu waved his hand, and a divine decree fell from the sky amidst brilliant lights. Ancient words appeared on the illusory golden scroll. The God's decree determined the clan's responsibilities. Ning Chen looked at the golden scroll floating in the air, and a light flickered in his eyes. It was really a divine decree. He had fought with the Nether King before, and he knew that the aura of a god was different from the cultivators in the mortal world. That kind of pressure that transcended heaven and earth was something that cultivators in the mortal world could never hope to achieve. Mr. Ning, do you understand why we can't leave? On the altar, Bai Yu waved his hand and kept the divine decree. He said calmly, go back. I've already made an exception by letting you see the divine decree. There's no need to mention the matter of resisting the Devil Palace. Hesitation flashed across Ning Chen's face, and he was unwilling to give up. Senior, although the Moon God's decree doesn't allow you to leave this place, this is a matter of life and death for the clan. Can't you do something according to the situation? Ning Chen argued again. Young man, your fate is decided by the heavens. I believe that the Moon God will protect our clan from this devil calamity. Go back. Below the altar, the white-haired old lady answered in a hoarse voice. Senior Bai Yu. Ning Chen bowed again and said sincerely, although God disposes, man proposes. Senior, please reconsider. On the altar, Bai Yu turned around and looked at the holy statue of the Moon God behind him. He said calmly, our clan originates from the Moon God's glory. Naturally, we have to offer everything to the Moon God, including our lives. Ning Chen's body shook, and he looked at the woman on the altar. He didn't understand. Did the Reverence Moon Clan really believe that their God would protect them? But could the God see the suffering of the world? Oh God! Ning Chen stepped forward and bowed to the statue of the Moon God on the altar with a pleading look. He said sincerely, if you have a spirit, please show your spirit and protect your people. Bowing deeply, knowing destiny felt powerless like never before. Even if he had Qianji in his heart, how could he save people if they didn't save themselves? At this moment a sudden change occurred. On the altar, the statue of the Moon Goddess suddenly trembled. Holy moonlight rose up, illuminating the world. On the altar, Bai Yu and the other clansmen were shocked, and they immediately knelt down. But at this moment, moonlight sprinkled down from the sky. An incomparably holy and beautiful figure appeared. She was so perfect that no one dared to look at her directly. After tens of thousands of years, the Moon Goddess once again performed a miracle. She opened her eyes and looked at the thousands of people below. Wisps of mist surrounded her. Welcome, Moon God. Bai Yu bowed and said respectfully. In the sky, the Moon God nodded and looked at the plain-clothed young man in front of the altar. She said softly, young man, what made you so sad? Even I, who is in another world, can feel it clearly. Through the heart, under the body that had endured for hundreds of years, a pair of eyes that were dripping blood and tears could be seen. Such sorrow moved the god. She had saved the world, and was the closest person to God in the world. As a god, he couldn't accept her bow and ask her questions. God, why do you want to confine your own people? Now that the demonic calamity has arrived, if they cannot save themselves, the only outcome is death. Could it be that you really want to see all of your people buried here? Ningchen once again bowed deeply and asked. In the sky, the moon god looked at the thousands of people kneeling on the ground. After a long time, she said softly, "Do you want to leave? We will follow the moon god's glory forever." On the altar, Baiyu and the thousands of clansmen bowed their heads and said respectfully, "Beneath the Baiyu clan's land, there is something I left behind. I asked you to guard it for generations to come. My purpose was to resist the demon invasion in the future. Since the demon invasion is happening again, take it out," the moon god said softly. "Yes." Baiyu bowed respectfully and said, "Young man." The moon god looked at the figure in front of the altar and said, "You are so powerful. Why do you still miss this world? If you are willing to let go, you will become the closest person to God in this world. You will be free from the shackles of this world. Knowing destiny is immortal. In this world, there are people I miss and wait for. No matter how long it takes, no matter when, I will wait." Ningchen smiled and said softly, "Fool." The moon god sighed softly and said, "In the future, you will change your mind. The path you should take will not change because of your will. Goodbye." As soon as she finished speaking, the moonlight scattered in the void. The moon god's shadow gradually faded. After a few breaths, it disappeared completely. Ningchen looked at the shadow disappearing in the sky and sighed. After a while, he collected his thoughts and looked at Baiyu the Venerable on the altar and said, "Senior." On the altar, Baiyu stood up and walked down step by step. He bowed respectfully to the young man in front of him. Ningchen saw this and quickly moved away. He did not dare to accept the bow. "Senior Baiyu, you are trying to shorten my life. There is no such thing as a senior bowing to a junior in this world." Ningchen said helplessly, "To save my clansmen, Mr. Ning should accept this bow." Baiyu said seriously. Ningchen heard this and his face became serious. He said, "Since Senior Baiyu knows that your clansmen will be in great danger, why are you still stubbornly holding on to the oracle? Faith and clansmen, I can't have both." Baiyu sighed and said. Ningchen was silent. He understood, but he could not understand. "Mr. Ning, please wait a moment," Baiyu said softly before he strode forward. 100 steps away from the altar, Baiyu stopped and shouted. In an instant, his true essence soared to the sky. A powerful energy that pierced through heaven and earth shook the entire Reverence Moon ancient ground. In the next moment, a shocking scene took place. The ground below the Reverence Moon holy ground shook violently as a giant crack spread out, reaching 100 li away. The divine artifact was about to be born. Between heaven and earth, the sun and moon were reversed. Moonlight shone through the dark night, illuminating the world as if it was daytime. Below the Reverence Moon holy ground, the ground rumbled and emitted a brilliant light. Boundless God force spread out. The divine artifact that had been sealed for countless years was about to appear. An indescribable pressure spread out. At the same time, far away in the boundless space, in the depths of the devil domain, inside a forbidden land filled with rolling devil chi, a pair of cold eyes opened. They were looking in the direction of the Reverence Moon holy ground. This aura did not belong to the mortal world. Inside the holy hall, Jie Tiance, who was deducing the heavenly secrets, suddenly shattered. The divine artifact's appearance, the heavenly secrets. Chapter 928. In the Reverence Moon ancient land, the earth cracked open as a divine artifact emerged. A saint bow enshrouded in chaos emerged, and a coiling dragon divine arrow hovered above the body of the bow. It exuded an extraordinarily powerful saint energy that shook the hearts of those who saw it. The moon god bow, the coiling dragon arrow, the moon god artifact, after countless years, had reappeared in the world. The appearance of an incomparable divine artifact caused the winds and clouds of the 9 heavens to change drastically. Streaks of lightning descended from the sky. The divine bow sensed something. Primal chaos swirled about, devouring the lightning. It wasn't injured in the slightest. In front of him, Baiyu raised his hand, and the divine bow slowly flew toward him. The moment he touched the bow, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth surged violently, gathering into a huge and terrifying whirlpool. With the godly bow in hand, a blue mark in the shape of a water droplet appeared between Baiyu's eyebrows. A pure and holy aura surged, as if the moon god had descended, stunning the world. 100 steps away, Ningchen looked at Baiyu, whose appearance and temperament had changed. His heart was in turmoil. What a powerful divine artifact! This power had even surpassed the power of the eye in the middle of Jun Wentian's forehead. It had always been the case that the person was strong, and the weapon was strong. However, the divine artifact before his eyes had already surpassed this category. Just the power of the divine artifact itself was already not something a third-realm cultivator could withstand. Very far away on Shinji Peak, the purple-clothed Shinji quietly watched the changing winds and clouds in the distance. He sighed softly in his heart. He could only hope that the bow of the moon god would never be drawn. In front of the Reverence Moon Holy Ground's sacrificial altar, the Reverence Moon Tribe's clansmen knelt in unison as they looked at the high priest who had changed his appearance. Greetings, moon god. When the divine bow recognized its master, it symbolized the reappearance of the moon-worshipping clan's god. Thousands of moon-worshipping clan's clansmen knelt before the moon god. Get up, Baiyu said calmly. Thank you, moon goddess. The moon-worshipping clan's members stood up in silence. Baiyu stepped forward, holy moonlight swirling around his body. The divine water droplet mark between his eyebrows exuded a powerful aura that surpassed the power of the mortal world. No one dared to profane it. From today onwards, I will lead my people to help young Master Ning fight against the Devil Palace until the Devil Calamity is quelled. Baiyu looked at the person in front of him and spoke. Many thanks. Ningchen bowed sincerely and said, I can sense that the master of the Devil Palace will come out soon. Be careful, Baiyu reminded. Hearing this, Ningchen frowned and asked, Senior, do you know what level the demon lord is at? Baiyu looked towards the southeast and said softly, I can't feel it clearly, but his cultivation has already surpassed everyone in the world. Perhaps he has already entered the fourth realm. Ningchen had heard of this before, and his eyes darkened. The fourth level. If that was the case, then it would be troublesome. A peak fourth realm cultivator was far more powerful than the Qilin Patriarch, who had exhausted his blood and qi. Once he appeared, the battle strength between them and the Devil Palace would be completely tilted. Senior you, Ningchen said as he looked at Reverend Baiyu, whose aura had changed drastically. Baiyu shook his head and said, I'm not his opponent. There's only one coiling dragon divine arrow. I don't have the confidence to take his life in a head-on fight. Hearing this, Ningchen fell silent. After a while, he nodded and said, Now we can only damage the Devil Palace as soon as possible before the master of the Devil Palace comes out and gain an advantage. Baiyu waved his hand, and a moon-shaped jade token appeared. He handed it to the person in front of him and said, This is the moon god token. With this token, Lord Ning can enter and leave our clan freely without being stopped. Ningchen took the moon god token and bowed again. Thank you, Senior. The 10 kings of hell are not weak. If you can get their help, the chances of fighting against the Devil Palace will be higher, Baiyu reminded him. Ningchen nodded and said, I have already made an agreement with the underworld. In the fight against the Devil Palace, I will spare no effort to help. That's good, Baiyu replied softly. He looked into the distance and said, Since Shinji gave his jade token to you, it means that he has decided to help you. Also, be careful of the Dawn Moon Tower Master. Other than the Devil Palace's Demon Lord, if there's anyone I fear the most, it will definitely be the Dawn Moon Tower Master. Ningchen nodded and remembered Baiyu's words. The Dawn Moon Tower Master indeed had too many secrets. It was difficult to see through her. Just as the Baiyu clan was shocked, in the All-Heaven Star Field, tens of thousands of Devil Army were being transferred to the Northern Territory. The war was about to begin, and the atmosphere was abnormally heavy. In the Red Luan Star Field, The great sects were furious. Seeing that the Devil Palace's goal was clear, the allied forces of the great sects began to gather and prepared to fight. Thousands of war chariots flew across the sky. 100,000 allied forces were stationed in the Borneo continent and faced off against the Devil Army. At the head of the army, Jun Wentian, who was wearing the water cloud battle armor, stood in the air. His abnormally powerful aura distorted the void. It was so heavy that it made it difficult for people to breathe. The head of the four great protectors, a peerless expert who was infinitely close to the fourth level, personally came to the northern battlefield to attack the Red Luan. At the border of the three regions, in the underworld, the red-clothed Yama raised his hand and covered his Yama mask. He looked at the people in front of him and said, "Everyone, the war has begun." In the palace, the expert stood up and took out the Yama masks on the table and put them on. In the next moment, in the sky above the 10 palaces, the divine restriction opened, and the Yama kings of the underworld flew out and rushed toward the northern battlefield. In the northern part of the Borneo continent, more and more devil army gathered. The four great protectors of the Devil Palace had arrived, and the war was about to begin. On the Borneo continent, the Red Luan Alliance looked at the terrifying devil army in front of them with shocked expressions. "Pavilion Master, should we make the first move?" On the floating war chariot, the Butian Pavilion Master and the other great sect masters stood. One of them spoke and suggested. The Butian Pavilion Master shook his head and said, "Although the Devil Palace's forces are not fully gathered, with the four great protectors of the Devil Palace, it will be difficult for us to win. Also, our allies have not arrived yet. Let's wait a little longer." Hearing this, the sect masters fell silent and did not say anything else. "Brother." In the southern part of the Borneo continent, in front of the Devil Army, the Moon Weaver stepped forward and said respectfully, "The army behind will arrive soon. We can make the move." Jun Wentian nodded as a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Third sister, you'll be the first one." "Yes." Hearing this, the Moon Weaver replied respectfully. With a wave of her hand, a divine weapon appeared. In the sky, the Moon Devil divine weapon appeared. Instantly, everything was turned upside down. A figure flashed past, and the divine sword was unsheathed. In that instant, the world was stunned. In the sky above the Borneo continent, the expressions of the Butian Pavilion Master and the other sect masters sank. The Devil Palace was not waiting for the army to gather, and was about to make a move. The Butian Pavilion Master came back to his senses, and looked at the Butian Martial Chief on the war chariot. "Qi Wenju, you will be the first one. Be careful." "Yes." Qi Wenju accepted the order. Her figure flashed as she rushed forward. In front of the two armies, the Devil Palace's third great protector and the Butian Martial Chief stood facing each other. Their expressions were different, but their killing intent was surging. "Butian Martial Chief, Qi Wenju. I didn't expect that the first person sent to die would be you." The Moon Weaver looked at the person in front of her and said indifferently, "Which, be careful with your words. Because every word you say now could be your last." Qi Wenju said in a low voice. "With such confidence, I am relieved." The Moon Weaver's lips curled into a cold smile. She took a step forward and started the battle. Qi Wenju focused and circulated his true essence. His body surged like waves and blocked the Moon Demon Divine Sword. The two experts clashed. With a boom, the Divine Sword cut through the waves and stabbed towards the former's chest. Qi Wenju's expression changed slightly. He leaned to the side and avoided the sword. However, the sword followed him like a shadow and was difficult to dodge. Unable to dodge, Qi Wenju flipped his palm to meet the sword head-on. In the clash, his body became light and involuntarily flew into the sky. Below, the Moon Weaver's lips curled even more coldly. The divine weapon in her hand gathered the spiritual qi of the heavens. With a swing of the sword light broke through the sky. In the sky, Qi Wenju's pupils constricted. He circulated his true essence and hastily blocked the attack. With a muffled groan, blood splashed. The sword qi entered his body. Qi Wenju's left shoulder was injured and blood flowed out. The two moves clashed, and the winner was decided. On the two sides of the battlefield, the generals of the Devil Palace, Hong Yuan, and the other experts looked at the battle with different expressions. In the battle, Qi Wenju was unwilling to lose. With a shout, his true essence surged and his body fell rapidly. Boundless true essence surged and moved the clouds of the 9 heavens. Carrying the power of 10,000 falling heavens, it pressed down from the sky. Extreme Tao, heavenly rainbow of punishment. The Moon Weaver raised her head and looked at the figure falling from the sky. With a light shout, the moon reversal sword in her hand rotated. Heavenly rainbow of punishment of the heavens. The extreme Tao of sword of light appeared in response. Its power shook the heavens and the earth. The sword's edge streaked across, and the entire sky above the battlefield was split in two. On both sides, the many experts watching the battle only saw the sky split open. When they came back to their senses, they saw a rain of blood and bones falling from the sky. Wenju, on the island of Borneo, the expression of the heaven-mending pavilion's protector of the right changed as he cried out in grief. However, the figure falling from the sky could not be heard. The sword scar that cut across his body destroyed his vitality, and took away everything that belonged to the heaven-mending pavilion's Wu Kuei. With a thump, the broken body smashed into the ground, causing sand and dust to fill the sky. This shocked the hearts of the Hong Yuan experts. The heaven-mending pavilion's Wu Kuei couldn't even last 3 moves. Were the 4 protectors of the Demon Palace already so powerful? On the battlefield, the Moon Weaver looked at the allied forces of the Hong Yuan Star region and smiled coldly. Then she waved her hand and walked back. Well done. In front of the tens of thousands of demon soldiers, Jun Wentian looked at the woman walking back and said lightly, "Thank you for the compliment, brother." The Moon Weaver bowed respectfully and said softly. Jun Wentian nodded and looked at the man in white on the left. He said, "The second battle, by Wangran you will be in charge." "Yes." Bai Wangran nodded and accepted the order. His figure flashed and flew forward. In the sky above the island of Borneo, on the floating chariots, the leaders of the major sects looked at the person who was going to fight with a heavy expression. According to the ranking, the second protector of the Demon Palace was even stronger than the Moon Weaver. Among them, there were many true realm experts, and there was no lack of peak true realm experts. However, no one was confident that they could win against the second protector of the Demon Palace. Everyone looked at the heaven-mending pavilion's master in front of them. A light flashed in their eyes. Perhaps only the heaven-mending pavilion's master was qualified to fight. Feeling everyone's gaze, the heaven-mending pavilion's master's expression darkened, and hesitation flashed in his heart. "Pavilion master, let me do it." As soon as the heaven-mending pavilion's left protector, Qi Xian, walked out and said. When the battle started again, in the distance, many figures descended from the sky and looked at the battle from afar. Their faces were ferocious and terrifying. Chapter 929. On the Borneo continent, where the heavens and Red Luan intersected, the flames of war were everywhere. The Demon Palace and Red Luan both sent out their troops. In the first battle, the Demon Palace won. Bu Tianwu died in battle, and his soul returned to the 9 heavens. In the second battle, the second guardian of the Demon Palace, Bai Wangran, appeared on the battlefield. His arrogance intimidated the experts of Red Luan. The battle started again. In the distance, the Yama Kings of the underworld descended from the sky. Their abnormally powerful auras shocked everyone. When everyone appeared, the experts on both sides immediately sensed something and looked into the distance. They are finally here. In front of the demon army, Jun Wentian looked over and saw the figures with evil faces in the distance. His eyes were filled with interest. In front of the Red Luan army, Butian Pavilion Master's expression turned serious. They were finally here. Let us take over the second battle. In front of the Yama Kings, the red-clothed Yama said calmly. Even though they were 100 miles away, everyone could hear the voice of the Yama Kings clearly. The underworld intervened. A Yama King with an evil face mask walked out. His figure swept into the battlefield in an instant. His long skirt fluttered in the wind, and his otherworldly aura made people gasp in admiration. King Chujiang and God Luo Shui appeared casually in the battle of the demon slayers. On the battlefield, Bai Wangran's expression turned serious. He looked at the figure in front of him, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. This person was extraordinary. The body of a deity interesting. In front of the demon palace's army, Jun Wentian looked at the Yama kings in the battle and smiled. Without these opponents, this battle would be boring. King Chujiang of the underworld, please fight. The voice was soft and calm. The Luo god stood in the void. His aura was like an abyss, making people unable to see the bottom. Second guardian of the demon palace, please. Bai Wangran replied. As soon as he finished speaking, he no longer hesitated. He flipped his palm and started the battle. The white-clothed figure swept past in an instant. His body moved with the wind, and the wild mist turned into a storm that swept across the entire battlefield. Eternal instant. The Luo god raised his hand and set the sky with a single word. His control power surpassed the laws of the mortal world. In an instant, everything in the world froze as if it had died. Violent and extremely calm. This was the clearest confrontation. With a bang, the storm collided with the still space. Expanse after expanse of the world shattered like ice, and the scene of ice melting and snow melting extended for 500 kilometers. It was difficult to determine the outcome of this exchange. In the collapsing space-time, the white-robed figure flashed past. He clenched his palm into a fist and punched out. Luoshan stepped forwards. Her figure flashed, instantly avoiding the former's full-powered attack. Her eyes narrowed, and the surrounding void condensed once more. Bai Wangran snorted coldly. He took a step forward, forcefully breaking through the restricted space. His body moved forward in an instant, his palms intersecting, his aura majestic. Luoshan's figure constantly flashed as she avoided the attack. She raised her hand and pointed at the sky. Reincarnation appeared again. Silent samsara. Space and time swirled around Bai Wangran. Space and time were in disorder around him, and they were about to devour him. Bai Wangran's eyes darkened. He lowered his vital energy and took in qi. He rode the qi and moved like the wind. He shattered the reincarnation with one palm and escaped. Reincarnation is everywhere in this world. You can't avoid it. Under the Yama mask, Luoshan spoke softly. Instantly, a black vortex appeared above the battlefield, sealing off the entire area. You're not human. Looking at the shocking scene around him, Bai Wangran said in a low voice. A human's control of the rules could never reach such a level. Is it important whether I am or not? Luoshan raised her hand. In the surrounding area, the black vortex kept spreading and devouring the former. You're not human, but you're helping the human race. I hate you even more. As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Wangran shouted. 9 wind pearls coiled out. Violent primordial wind swept out and turned into a green storm, colliding with the surrounding vortex. With a rumble, the world disintegrated. The space-time around them collapsed and turned into nothingness. The nothingness spread. 9 wind pearls flew out and landed in all directions. They turned into hurricanes and prevented the world from recovering. Now, without the rules of the world, how can you defeat me? Bai Wangran said coldly. His figure flashed past. His inner breath condensed on his palm. He fought in close combat and killed the deity. Luoshan frowned. She looked at the area that was frozen by the wind pearls. Her figure flashed past quickly, avoiding the attacks again and again. Not good. In the distance, under the Yama mask, Mu Qianshang said. Luoshan has the body of a deity. Her strongest strength is the control of the rules. The current situation is too unfavorable for her. Don't worry. In front of everyone, the red-clothed Yama said calmly. 100 years ago, I fought with Luoshan. The body of a deity is not as simple as that. As soon as he said that, in the battle, Luoshan, who had been retreating again and again, suddenly had a purple light in her eyes. She shook the battle with a palm. Her primordial qi surged, and her primordial qi rushed into the sky. Not good. In front of the Demon Palace army, Jun Wentian looked at the battle with a solemn expression. Bai Wangran might lose. Brother, did something happen? Hearing Jun Wentian's words, Moonweaver looked over and asked in confusion. Keep watching, Jun Wentian said. In the future, you must pay attention to this Yama. Her strength is enough to rank in the top 3 in the underworld. Before the two of them could finish their conversation, in the battle ahead, Luotian's divine essence surged. An indescribable strength surged out from her, causing everyone to feel fear. Divine punishment, borrowing sword from the heavens. With a soft shout, heaven and earth shook. Outside the battle, the wind and clouds rolled. Under everyone's gaze, thousands of sword lights gathered and turned into a stream of swords, rushing into the battle. In the battle, Bai Wangran's expression changed when he saw this. He used primordial qi, and a gale rose again to protect his body. Swish! Swish! Tens of thousands of sword flashes flashed across the void. In an instant, they condensed into a golden celestial sword, which crashed into the wind beads blocking it. After a moment of stalemate, the 3 wind beads shattered, and the golden celestial sword continued to fly past and into the battle. The crucial moment had arrived. Everyone's expression turned serious. Ha! With a shout, the divine punishment sword fell from the sky and slashed at the demon. Ha! Around Bai Wangran, a gale swept, and it became faster and faster, blocking the heavenly sword's advance. The rumbling shook the 9 heavens. The 2 extreme forces kept colliding, and the aftershocks shook and spread everywhere. Both gods and demons were at their limits. Blood flowed from the corners of their mouths, and the primordial qi in their bodies was rapidly consumed. Suddenly, the golden sword light broke through the restraints of the gale and pierced through the body, bringing out a dazzling spray of blood. It was a shocking, and unbelievable scene. The heavenly sword pierced through the body. Bai Wangran's eyes trembled. He could not believe it, and he could not accept it. Whoosh! His clothes were torn away, and blood spurted into the sky. Bai Wangran let out a long, painful groan. Golden flames burned, and the divine fire burned his body, forcibly taking back everything given by heaven and earth. His memories were stripped away, and his cultivation base dissipated. Little by little, everything he had obtained from this heaven and earth flew out of Bai Wangran's body. Accompanied by endless pain, they disappeared. Defeated. Even if he was brave and good at fighting, even if he had a plan at this moment, in the burning golden flames, everything was no longer important. Looking back one last time, he looked into the distance. So this was what life was like. So his life was so sad. The white-robed figure fell from the sky and crashed into the ground. Dust and sand flew up, and the golden flames were extinguished. In the end, everything returned to dust and dust returned to dust. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.